there a motion to open the meeting?
I make a motion to open the Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation for September 22, 2014.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Welcome to the September 22nd, 2014 meeting of the Architectural Board of Review and Historic Preservation. My name is Curtis Highsmith, and I am your chair. And before we begin, we'd like just to make a brief announcement about Miss Christina Redding. Unfortunately, she will not be here for the next few meetings for personal reasons. She'll be returning in about 2 months, so she will not be here for the next 2 months. But we do have Brian Brady, Esther Pastor, Ham Hogue. We'd like to welcome our historic consultant, Zach Studenroth, our legal counsel, Bo Robinson, and to that, as always, we welcome you as well.
Chair, for the record, I have to leave at 9:15 this evening.
I guess we got to get the show on the road, huh? All right. First application, signs.
Starbucks Coffee Company, 29 Hampton Road.
Good evening, John Bennett for the applicant. I thought it would make more sense. You have the exterior alterations on later on in the evening. So it's your agenda, of course, but why don't we view them all together, I thought?
That's fine.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Okay.
It's, again, if you... I will
Not a
send this
problem.
on- Okay.
Next application, please.
Ham.
On the agenda.
Thank you.
There's a shortage of agendas tonight.
Joseph
Not a long-
Arlaface Construction, a contractor sign.
Hi, sir.
Hi.
Your name for the record, please.
Joseph Arlaface Jr.
Contractor sign,
Yes.
black background. Is that white lettering?
That's silver, grayish.
Grayish. Is this representation of the font, style, as well
Yes,
as logo?
that's the exact sign.
Brian, any comments?
No, I've seen it before. It's fine.
Esther?
Clean, I have no problem.
No issue.
Any public comment on the application? Motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve the sign for Joseph Arlaface Construction, Inc.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next application,
Okay,
please.
thank you.
Next application is Old Town Development, LLC, for a contractor sign.
Good evening. My name is Giorgio Citarella from Old Town Development LLC. We're here to get approval on the design of the construction signs.
Okay. Black background, gold lettering.
Yes,
This is the representation of both font as well as style
correct.
and design
Correct.
and logo.
Correct.
Brian, any comments?
No, I think it's very handsome.
Esther?
It's good looking.
Ham?
No.
Any public comment on the application? Motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the sign for Old Town Development, LLC.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank
Skinner
you.
Veronica, storefront sign.
I'm
Good.
going to recuse on this
Go.
one.
Stacy Menzer, Hampton Sign.
Contractor sign or,
It is not, it's a sign on the storefront.
gotcha. Gold leaf?
It is not, it's a three-dimensional gold letter. Very similar to all the other letters that are on the same buildings.
Brian, any comments?
No issues.
Ham?
No.
Any public comment on the application? Motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the sign for Skin by Veronica, 67 Hampton Road.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Pembroke Fine Landscapes, contractor sign. Landscaper.
Hi, good evening. Cindy Poulos for Pembroke Fine Landscapes.
Black lettering, white background?
Correct,
Correct font?
correct.
Contractor sign, telephone number, website. Brian, any comments?
No, I think it's fine.
Esther?
Clean.
Yeah.
Good.
Any public comment on the application? Motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the sign for Pembroke Fine Landscapes.
Thank you,
All in favor?
Aye.
thank you.
That concludes our sign permits for this evening. Go into our historic. First application is closed for written decision by council.
In the file is an application or a decision approving the application pursuant to the consensus of the board as amended. And the affirmative vote on the motion would be to approve the application. And before the board votes on it, I understand there might be at least one procedural comment that's been requested.
Good evening, John Armentano, Farrell Fritz. We had submitted a letter to the board. I don't know if it was delivered. It went to the Village Hall, so I do have copies for you to consider before the vote. The issues are succinctly set forth in the letter.
I'm going to object to this. The hearing is closed. Please don't consider this. This hearing was opened. It was reopened over my objection. It was then closed. This is improper, illegal, irregular, inappropriate. Do not do this again. So I object, and I would ask you to direct him not to deliver this, and do not consider it in the record. And I also don't particularly like it, which has been unfortunately par for the course. When I get up and to do my job as a lawyer, someone in the back says, "Sit down." So please stop this ridiculous circus that's gone on. The total lack of procedure, the total lack of adherence to process. Disregard this and do not allow this in the record.
John, had you sent a copy to Mr. Bennett's office?
No.
We can hand him one right now.
No.
That's fine. Then it's been noted. It's public record. We just wanted to make the comments.
Not in the record. The record is closed.
This is a public hearing. I'm making a public comment, not to.
No, he has the
What
podium.
is
Please.
So I don't want to take much more of your time. I know you have a busy calendar. The issues are placed in the letter. It deals with the issues of when the hearing was opened, how it was opened, and how the comments were made, and the fact that there has been new information provided that has not received the benefit of a public hearing. That's in the letter. Appreciate your time.
Okay. Is there a motion? First and foremost, was there a motion to reopen the application? Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
May I see a copy of the letter?
The letter, I believe, is over there.
So you want me to stamp this then?
And also, we had some new.
I want to hold off on stamping any information into the record, council, because it is a closed meeting,
Correct.
closed application, therefore, we cannot accept it. If you want it for personal reasons, it will not be a part of the record.
Would it include the letter from the building inspector for the Village of Southampton that would be entered into the record?
Well,
this
that
evening?
is work product with internal.
Not an issue, Ham. It's not part of the record.
So this letter is regarding versus a three-story structure versus a 2.5-story.
It's an informational letter from the building inspector.
It's not part of the record?
Correct.
Have you seen this letter,
Yes, I have.
the original?
I have seen the.
Okay. Are there any comments that we can make on this?
No, the matter is closed, and this isn't that comment was not a prelude to general comments. The issue is
Of course not.
the matter's ready now for a vote.
Okay.
Is there a motion to approve written decision by council for 40 Meadow Lane?
No.
Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve written decision by council for EAM 40 Meadow Lane LLC.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Next application, please.
Thank you.
Next
I have-
application.
Excuse me.
Sorry.
That's right. I have copies of the decision. If anybody wants to come up and get one, you might want to make that in a copy of the letter that Mr. Foster has provided.
Next. Oh. I'll give just a second while there's some scattering. Okay, if we can get back to order, please. Next application, please.
Next application is 450 Gin Lane SH LLC.
I'm Blaise McCoy, the architect for Bruce and Diane Grossman. The last time we met, about a month ago, there were a handful of questions or issues that were raised about the design of the house that we're trying to address here. The first question that came up was about the thickness of the roof and floor heights. So there are two drawings I want to show you to describe what's going on. The requirement for the thickness, we cut a couple of sections through the roof that are in detail. Because we don't have an attic space or a basement due to FEMA regulations for the basement, all of our mechanical systems have to run within our floors and roofs and intermediate floor. One, it's a flat roof. If we have a structural system of, say, a steel beam and rafters running along, if we have mechanical systems running perpendicular to that, that has to run below that structural system. So having done a number of these kinds of buildings, we found that trying to get that sandwich less than about 2.5 feet is very difficult, if not impossible to do, when you take into account not only those two systems, but having to drain through the roof and putting on pitched roof insulation to pitch the water on the roof, two roof drains, having roof drains having to go through the roof, turn as an elbow, and all of these systems stay in the ceiling. That's kind of where we get to about 2.5 feet, you know, plus or minus an inch or two, depending upon the spans that we're addressing. What we did do, though, was, and you can see this probably best in the model, we looked at how we could design the mechanical system so that they could feed from this side of the house in this direction, this side of the house in this direction, and not have systems, mechanical systems, cut through the middle of that, where these two forms meet. In that sense, we can drop that, not the ceiling, but the roof height by about 1 foot, maybe 1.5 feet, because all we're really doing in that roof is running the structural system. And my feeling is by doing that, that breaks those two volumes up, so it's not one continuous roof line across the street elevation. Any questions on that?
Understand.
The other, I think, large question that came up was an issue of privacy to the neighbor on this side of the house and the east side of the house. For these two balconies here, there's a master suite down here and a gym up above. So, unfortunately, this drawing fell, but we've added a system of louvers, of wood louvers, similar to the louvers that are proposed for the front of the house, that are approximately, each louver is about 1 foot deep and or 8 inches deep and about 1 foot long, or 1 foot wide. We've angled those louvers so that the sight line is running in this direction, so that our client can still see out to the beach. But if you're looking in this direction to the east, to the neighbor, it creates a opaque screen. So I think that alleviates any privacy issue of our two decks, particularly the second floor deck.
So you see the louvers are pitched in a way that your line of sight is to the beach, whereas
Correct.
the neighbor cannot see, nor
Right.
can you
So
pin it.
if you're looking this way and the beach is over here, they're angled at this direction.
Are those fixed?
Yes,
They're 2 feet on centers?
I will, correct.
Okay.
And then I think the last question that came up was a potential for glare on our west elevation towards the neighbor. We've contacted West Hampton Glass to get specifications for a non-glare film on the few windows that we have on this side of the elevation. You know, it's my feeling that we're probably more apt to get glare off our neighbors' windows from western light reflecting and bouncing this way than we are to produce it. I think those were the kind of key elements that were still in question.
Did you supply information that supports that?
I can provide that. We did not get those specifications in return. I know one of our clients has used it before. I just don't have that at hand.
Any questions, Brian?
No, I'd like to hear the public comment.
Okay.
I
Do you have
think
anything further?
One item covered? Yeah. Yes. Do you want this? This is kind of fell off.
Yeah, thank you. Where's Matt? one of the things, Melissa Dedovich, Peconic Environmental Associates, we just wanted to go over with the board also, and I have a gentleman from LaGuardia Design who designed this, and Matt, do you want to just go over what some of the changes we made?
Sure. So, a couple of changes to the plan since you last saw it. First was replacing the existing privet hedge, which is in poor condition on Gin Lane, the 6-foot high hedge with 12 to 14 foot hedge, which is going to do a great job screening the property from the street. In addition to the hedging, we proposed another 7-inch caliper London plane tree in this corner on the eastern property line to provide additional buffering at this edge of the house.
The 14-foot high privet hedge matches what's over in front of the Drucker property. So actually, between that one, the Bomber, and this, you'll have a line of about 12 to 14-foot hedge along the whole stretch from the parking area over.
What would be the impact of the line of sight from Gin Lane?
We actually provided that in the last submittal. In the third submission, there was a line of sight that showed what the original privet hedge was, and then what the 14-foot high privet hedge, and you only were seeing a top portion of the building. I have it here if you want me to pull it out again, but I know we already did submit it at
You
the
may
last
want to
hearing.
turn it so that everybody can see it.
Well, this is the same. This landscape plan has not changed.
Understood,
since,
but if you can just turn it to the public as well as the camera as well.
Ta-da.
Sir, you're in the way.
Also, I think the addition of the London plane tree now with the vertical slats and everything really take away any issue about the privacy. There were a couple other questions that were brought up at the last meeting. Thanks. Oh, actually, one more thing. I'm sorry. I wanted Matt to be here because he is the landscape architect. There was a question about whether or not we could put any other large trees in between the house and Gin Lane, and in this area. Now, in this area, we, as you know, are required to use native species. It's very difficult to get native large trees that would actually be viable here, and Chris LaGuardia's office has also confirmed with that, or else we'd be more than willing to put a tree or two, a bigger tree or two in there. But we did go through the whole process of getting a village wetland special permit. During that whole process, we had originally proposed some non-natives. We were asked to remove them. So this is what we have. The privet is allowed to stay because the privet was already there. The other two things I just want to address with regard to that, do we have the beach and the street views?
Yeah.
Actually, these are. Okay, so this is now, and I'll show it to the public afterward, this is now with the revised rendering with the additional London plane trees and the 14-foot high privet. There was a question also about our view from the beach. And again, this is the additional London plane tree. I'll show them again in 2 seconds, but just so the board can see it, and if the board's satisfied, I'll show the public. The last thing I'd like to put into the record, just so the board has it, are letters of the article provided that were in the Southampton Press by Ann Searchin.
Could you,
Yes?
going forward, can you just give us 2 renderings? We don't need 4.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, we were giving.
I know, but
You
it
guys
starts.
love the mini plans.
It starts accumulating, and the building department doesn't like us at the end of the evening.
That is fine, okay.
Is that correct, sir? Okay.
And so we'd like to submit then the record that it was the article that was in the 2070 East Southampton Press by Ms. Ann Searchin, who I know this board's familiar with, in support of the project, pretty much comparing what this project is similar to what has gone on in the historic district, including what just recently was built at Calvin Klein's, the Sugarman Estate, Josh Harris's, and we'll address that later also. And then the last question that I remember the board asked about was about the total square footage, habitable and mechanical, for this property. As you know, the building itself, we had a very tight building envelope. We also were constrained by FEMA. So we have no attic or basement space. Even with that, our house is 8 feet lower than what needs to be because it is a flat roof and not a pitched roof. That being considered, we have 7,629 square feet of habitable space, 379 feet of which is mechanical. So the
It
total...
needs to be not necessarily allowable, correct?
Right. We're way under our allowable, yes.
You're under your allowable.
Yes, we are. So it's, if you minus the 379 square feet of the mechanical, because that has to be at or above base flood elevation, we're at 7,250 square feet.
Please, it's kind of difficult for us to hear. If we can stop the, and I'm sorry, the chatter, it
Thank you.
interferes with our ability to hear those who are speaking. Anything further? Yes.
John Bennett, the applicant. A couple of things. Most important, of course, probably one of the keystones of your architectural review guidelines are context and compatibility. So I didn't want there to be any doubt but that the historic district, and not just Meadowland and Gin, but the historic district itself, actually have quite a number of contemporary homes. So what we did was we put that together and we were for you. And we were very careful to place on this presentation for you only homes in the historic district that clearly are contemporary. This is Jaffe, there's a Sugarman House. There's actually a couple of Jaffe.
John, is this your streetscape?
This is not a streetscape. This is, what this is illustrative examples of, in the historic district, not just on Meadow and Gin, but in the historic district, 10 contemporary homes.
Over the course of several miles then?
It's,
Throughout the
you can
district.
qualify it however you want. They're in the historic district.
But they're
And
not a
that's what's
streetscape,
important.
correct?
Excuse me?
It's not a streetscape.
No, I'll give you a streetscape from the pond, which I also want to talk to you about. Okay, you've seen this before, but I think it's very, very important to consider in light of some pending legislation and a pending moratorium, perhaps, see what the Suffolk County Planning Commission thinks about it, but in the village. This is what you get from an attempt to maintain a lower roof height. So this house, if it was a traditional house, would be 7 feet high, 8 feet higher, 8 feet higher than the existing house. But in terms, let's talk about context again. You can see Mr. Smith's house, who's been rather opposed to this application, is actually at 52.3 feet above sea level, whereas we're at 46 feet above sea level to the closed flat roof. I did notice that Mr. Bragman's comment about this, that this didn't scale out. You can try it again. I scaled it myself. It all scales. The house to the west, 436 Gin Lane, 58.1 feet. So one has to wonder where the goals are in the village. If the goal is to try to attempt to make a house that is less visual from the street, then this is the poster child for it. Clearly, it is a house that is significantly less than the allowable height in the village. It's significantly less in height than the houses to the east and to the west. Is it a contemporary house? Yes, it is, but it's clearly not a stranger in the historic district where there are many contemporary homes. As a matter of fact, there are some houses in the contemporary home in the historic district, albeit old. For example, the International Style house on the end of Halls Neck Lane, which were forebears of certain styles. So this is not something that's unusual. This is not something that's out of character. This is not something that's out of context. And in terms of an attempt to have minor impact on the neighbors, this is a very is a very good example of it.
As it relates to height, not mass, correct?
No, as it relates to mass as well. We've tried to minimize the mass, and as you are well aware, we
But you're
said on
speaking
many
about the height
occasions,
as compared, correct?
as we said on many occasions, this is a very circumscribed building envelope. So,
But you're speaking to the height only, correct?
excuse me, I'm
You're
speaking to what I
the
spoke to.
But actually also, and I think it is visible in this, I know it's visible on the elevations, with the drop, in that 1 foot drop that Mr. McCoy talked about earlier, it breaks 111 feet that originally was one roof line to 28 feet at elevation 46, 12 feet at a 1 foot drop to elevation 45, and then 71 feet to 46. So we are trying, and as Mr. McCoy succinctly put it, with the floor plates and the fact that we have no attic or basement to put our mechanical, our duct work, we have a mechanical room. It's quite challenging. Also, if you may recall on this, is that part of this goes out too, so you have bump outs.
I'm sorry, Melissa, one more time. So you're saying the horizontal run of 111 feet is broken in how many spots?
It's broken. It goes 28 feet from east to west. Then it goes down to it's a 12-foot section that's a 1 foot drop. 1 foot.
1 foot. Okay.
And then it goes to 71 feet.
Okay. And is the T part that's going south, is that also dropping down, or is that?
No, it's just. It's actually this bar right here on the model. This bar right here is dropped in the middle. Right. And the other thing I'd like to know is I just submitted into the record, there's a letter from Blaise McCoy confirming the validity of the scaling on that picture and just explaining how they came about that. And
you're talking about the bantering back between you and the attorneys, so forth, of the 2 feet, the angle?
No, I didn't get in the middle of that at the last hearing. There was a question brought up by, I believe, Mr. Bragman about the validity of the scaling.
Okay.
We've brought a letter just confirming
You
it.
have dropped 1 foot, at least, you're starting to attempt to break this structure up. And you're saying by not waffling or not by engineering, in other words, you can't bring it down any lower, is that correct?
We can't, because in the 2 pieces of the T, we have to run mechanical systems. We can run mechanical up to the joint of the T, and that way not have to run it through, so we can feed into that zone. Whereas in the...
Have you looked at SIP panels and other means of engineering?
Yeah, we're looking at the structural system for the roof, insulation for the roof drainage. Like I said, we've done many flat roof buildings, and we kind of know when we get under that less than 2.5 feet, we end up with a problem.
So you're being pushed by the FEMA up, and you're trying to push down, but you can't push any lower because of FEMA, ironically.
Basically, yeah.
You're being pushed in 2 directions. That's
always the case.
Okay.
To answer your question, or help to answer your question about mass when you were asking John, okay. While that drawing talks about vertical imagery, this one, we did a plan, site plan across the 4 neighboring properties, and basically we outlined each of the plan view of each building to see if we were in a context of size in site plan. Well, our building is approximately, let's call it round up to 5,200 square feet in terms of a footprint.
You're talking about this, correct?
The dark gray, right? That's us right here. You can see that this house over here is this structure on the property is 6,300, over 6,300, plus 2 other buildings. This structure is 37, plus another 14 is over 5,000 square feet. This structure alone is almost 6,000 square feet. So, I don't think...
The lots in comparison are different, though, correct?
That's true.
Okay.
They're all smaller, larger. And this house, from what I understand, is looking to do a project at some point as well. But I don't think it's out of context in terms of scale either.
The lot to the west is actually smaller in terms of square footage, directly to the west.
This one.
It's not as wide.
Okay.
And also, you also have to remember, if you're looking at this too, again, the environmental constraints. Our house is back here because we meet the coastal erosion, the 100-foot dune crest setback. And we meet over here. These other 3 buildings do not meet the required wetland setback.
Melissa, what's your crest of dune setback in your landward side of the total dune setback? Are you again being pushed?
We're out 100 feet.
You're out 100 feet from the crest? Or from
The tower is not a jurisdictional moment in the village. That's maybe for Quogue or West Hampton, but the jurisdictional benchmark is from the crest, and we're compliant.
And your setback from Old Town is also how many feet? That's directing the...
Well, the zoning board of appeals was kind enough to give us relief from the wetland setback because primarily because there's an intervening road. It's 150. I think in some cases we're
we provided this before. We actually, the existing, what's still existing on site, there was a lot of hardscape over here. There were 2 sheds. There was all this concrete, and the house was over here, was actually further this way. So we pushed it to make it more conforming, and also to meet with the dune crest setback. The most challenging part of this actually was meeting the 200-foot septic, because that envelope is really up here. So that was very hard to do with the dune crest and everything. So we had to get a little bit relief on the septic, because the ZBA felt it was more important to protect the wetlands associated with Old Town Pond. Do you only want 2 of these, Curtis? We'll just submit only 2.
Thank you. Any more information?
Bruce? It's the owner.
I'm sorry?
The owner.
Okay.
Good to see you again. And I guess by the attendance in the room, I guess it's clear that, I don't know if it's this agenda item or others, but there's obviously a lot of interest in what's going on here. I'm pleased to see the level of interest, because I think we've purchased one of the nicest pieces of property and one of the best one of the best parts of the country, frankly, and potentially the world. And the people here do not know me and my wife or our family. I think it's clear to anyone who knows us that the last thing we're interested in doing is something that is not viewed favorably by the community. We're new to this community. We're not even here yet. Our experience with this community has been fairly unpleasant so far, I should add.
Sorry to hear that.
Undeservingly so. And, we are sensitive to the issues of your board and what you're trying to accomplish. We are very much sensitive to our neighbors. The last thing we want to do is come to a community and offend people and upset people. And frankly, as I mentioned last time, we came to this design because we felt it was the best path for everyone concerned, that it was the most attractive and least obtrusive and the smallest structure that this piece of property could accommodate, while maximizing what we thought was our substantial investment and putting a structure in this property that this property deserves. And I think that's an important point, because you've heard from my professional team the limitations that we have. They're numerous, and we have really done the best that we can. And I would hope that that your board and the members of this community would give us the benefit of the doubt that we've done a lot of work, spent a lot of time to get our arms around these issues, and have come out with the best plan that we could come out with. And we're not interested in doing something that's either going to be detrimental to our investment or create issues for us in this community. I have no interest in creating that controversy. I think this is a very attractive design. As far as what you're presumably going to hear from Mr. Smith and his team, many of the issues that he will cite have been created by the fact that he's got several variances for things on his property, and we are sensitive to his concerns, and we've done the best we can do. We've addressed as many of the concerns that you've stated that we feel comfortable addressing, again, at considerable time and expense. And, we're pretty much at the end of the line in terms of what we're prepared to do to accommodate those concerns that you have. So we'd appreciate your support at this point.
Thank you.
Sure.
Is there any public comment? Step forward. certainly can.
Not yet, Neil. Let's put those away. Put them away. Let's wait. Good evening, board members, Mr. Chairman. I assume that I'm not limited by the 3-minute timeline. And
you can assume.
I want to start out by saying that I have an objection to the imposition of that 3-minute timeline to me and my team. I have a letter here that I can hand in and just pass it around, and let's have it be part of the record.
It's a rule that this town and village has always implemented, and it's not foreign to this board, nor is it foreign to any administrative process that we've done here, both town as well as village. So
there's absolutely no rational reason why an applicant's team and his consultants should be permitted to present to you an entire case with an attorney making the record that he feels he needs to make, with unlimited time for each of his consultants. When I stood in front of you last time and watched Mr. Bennett in front of you, he spoke without interruption, unlike me. He let his consultants speak. They were spoken to without interruption. Mr. Bennett rejoined the floor with his consultants, interjected comments with them, corrected them, assisted them. There was never a quibble from the board about the amount of time they've taken, as there wasn't tonight. It was quite different when I stood up. When I stood up as an attorney representing a property owner with an equal property interest in this case, I was immediately interrupted and told I had 3 minutes to speak. I managed to wring out of you, Mr. Chairman, 10 minutes to speak, until I was interrupted vigorously and made to sit down. I had to hustle through my last few points, and as did my witnesses, to comply with this rule.
So I gave
this
you 10
rule,
minutes.
excuse me, I won't interrupt you. Please don't interrupt me, especially if you think you're going to impose a 3-minute deadline on me. My client has an equal property interest.
First and foremost, I have to stop you right now. You, unfortunately, do not have control over this meeting. This board does. This chair runs the meeting. And if we implement a rule or a policy that we ask each person to speak before this board to follow, then you follow it. If you choose not to, then this board has the right to ask you to remove yourself from the podium. And if you choose not to, we have the right to enforce someone to do so. So please don't come here to threaten or try to intimidate this board.
What I'm trying to do right now is what I have every legal right to do in order to fulfill my client's right to have a fair hearing, and that is to make a record to you about this purported objective rule that you've used throughout the proceedings and everybody knows about. The fact of the matter is that this rule has not been applied consistently, and in this hearing it is being applied only to my team, the team that is coming up to oppose this case. That's what happened at the last meeting. It was only my team that had a 3-minute rule imposed on their ability to address this board. And I want to say something to you about what a public hearing means. It's not merely addressing the board. I have the right to address the board in front of other members of the public so that they can hear me. I am an attorney. I'm not a member of the public. I'm a professional. I'm an officer of the court. This is an administrative hearing, and I have every right to make the record that I need to make to protect my client's equal property interest in this case. His land is worth every bit as much as this applicant's land. There is nothing in the rules of the Architectural Review Board that gives the applicant in front of the board a presumption that he's correct and gets more time. And I might add, I've appeared in front of your board on many other occasions in opposition, most recently on the Farrell Builders case, in which I came back 2 or 3 times in front of meetings and made presentations for the opposition with no time limit. So another fact is that this rule is not being consistently applied. It was not applied on the 40 Meadow case either. And what I'm saying to you on the record, which I have a right to do, and I apologize, Mr. Chairman, if this appears to be aggressive or I'm trying to tangle with you, because in actuality, I think you're a very good chairman. I enjoy watching the meetings, and I mean that. I think you're a very good chairman. But this rule is wrong. This rule is fundamentally unfair. And anybody sitting in the audience knows why it's fundamentally unfair. If the applicant can get up and take an hour of your time and put up 4 witnesses and help them and all the diagrams he needs, and then the attorney for the opposition gets up and is given 3 minutes, it's clear it can't be a fair hearing. It's clear. And that's why I want to make this record. That's why I've handed in a letter to you. It's completely unfair. Lawyers have a fancy name for it. We call it due process of law. But in reality, what it means is fundamental fairness. And when this case is reviewed in court, as it is likely to be reviewed in case, as it is likely to be reviewed, it's going to be judged against the statutes that control what administrative boards can do. And the operative statute is CPLR Section 7803. And they are going to look and see not only whether you weighed substantial evidence correctly, but they're also going to look to see whether you followed lawful procedures in your hearing. And what I'm saying to you is it's fundamentally unfair. This applicant, and it also puts the applicant in an inappropriately advantaged position in front of this board. This applicant has basically come to this board and said, and you heard it actually from the applicant himself, this is what we're doing. We're not doing anything else. This board has asked them for other information. They're not giving it to you. We've stood up in front of the board in my 10 minutes that I got the last time.
And you're getting 5 now. So I've been lenient to, as you stated before, when there's evidence before this board, which is substantial, as you've done in past time, I've given leniency to that timing and extended that time.
Well, then let me say this a little bit less energetically to you. Okay? You know me. I've been in front of the board. I don't pound my fist on the podium. I don't waste time. When I come to you, I have something to say to you. And I'm asking you, as lawyers do sometimes in court, let me make my presentation subject to connection. Give me an opportunity, and because we're here today to provide you with substantive evidence, you have an applicant who has said, now, I'm ready to go. Now, just bear with me,
now,
okay?
Is this question, now you've given 6 minutes to give a evaluation on this board's procedural practices. You want now an additional 10 minutes to give a presentation?
I want an hour of your time. I need an hour.
You will not have an hour of this board's time.
Well, I'm going to start talking, and can we see if you're interested in what we have to show you?
I will let you know now that if you take an hour of this board's time, we will have to ask you to remove yourself from the podium, and if you do not, we will have to have someone remove you from the podium.
Then thank you for saying that, but I'm going to say something to you. The last time when you rushed me out, you rushed me off this podium and made me sit down, there were 2 other witnesses on this case that spoke. They collectively got up and spoke for probably 3 minutes. You had more than ample time then to hear everything I had to say, but you cut me off because of this arbitrary rule. Tonight is no different. If you don't think that you have the time to permit me to make a complete and entire application, then you have an obligation in order to protect due process, and my client has due process rights. You have an obligation to schedule this case so that I can make a full presentation. Now, if you would like...
ask for that?
I am asking for that.
That's something different. I mean, hear me out now. You've asked this board to, out of all of our time, all of which is voluntary time, I'm going to take an hour of your time. If you've come before this board and you said it nicely, I think this is a process where we maybe need to have an additional or executive session or some type of hearing on the application. That would be a different a request of this board.
Are you
what you
asking
came
for
here
Yes,
and said is,
I'm
I'm going to take it, and I'd take offense to that.
Well, you have to understand our interaction, Mr. Chairman. And as I said, I've watched you and I've liked the way you run meetings. They're orderly, you get things done. I like it. But this is an instance where order is not more important than the substance. I need an hour of your time. I have two consultants here and the homeowner. I assure you that in that hour of time, I am going to be giving you substantive evidence that contradicts a lot of what you've heard from the applicant, but that also, I think, will assist you to actually visualize this project and understand what's involved.
Asking this board for a separate hearing on the matter, because tonight you will not be getting an hour of our time.
If you will do that, I think that would be a better way to do it.
Is that what you're requesting of this board?
Because
I lean towards you in terms of any precedent that this board's ever had, which I don't recall there ever being, where we're taking an application and separate it from the agenda for a private meeting. Never heard of it as being a public. Well, it would be a public meeting, but it would be separate from the agenda.
It is unprecedented, but I don't think that it really is a private meeting. I think what Mr. Bragman is asking for is some arrangement with regard to a public hearing, at which time his time can be accommodated, whether it's before your next regular meeting or some other time. It's very difficult to convene you all on any given night other than a regularly scheduled meeting, but perhaps some time either before or after the agenda is finished, you could accommodate Mr. Bragman.
I've done that before, I believe, with the
museum
and a few other. I don't have any issues with it.
It's not a private meeting, it's just a special arrangement at a public meeting.
Right, where the public meeting, and I have to say, and again, I do want to apologize if my tone is overly energetic, but lawyers get very nervous when someone waves a 3-minute, flag in front of them before we begin. It's hard to even. I mean, Are
you requesting a second hearing?
Yes, I would request a separate hearing rather than break this up and delay other cases that you have. It's a serious enough case. It's generated a huge amount of interest. I have substantive material. I promise you, I'm not going to just get up and bang the podium. I'd like to not feel like I've got to just rush my words out of my mouth to try to get it out of here, at a reasonable hour. I think it's, given the seriousness of the case, the difficulty of the issues, I would request that we put this over for a date when we just have this on and I can speak with my consultants and, have an unhurried time. I think it's better for you, too.
For purposes of a separate meeting, would have to still adhere to public posting time limit, so nothing could be done before another, was it 10 days?
Yes, correct.
Mm-hmm.
If it has to be 10 days, it has to be 10 days.
You know you're going to get objections.
I understand, but just the same way.
Is that the direction you want to go?
That's the direction you're asking this board to take in consideration.
I am, because of the seriousness of the case.
Very well.
And I just want to make one comment. I hear John Bennett, standing up a lot saying, there's a moratorium coming. I want to get this thing through.
This board is not looking to expedite any file because of any other matters that are going on within the village.
Nor am I looking to, nor am I not in the business of delaying this. I want to have a clear period of time when I can present this evidence, which I think will be helpful and substantive to you. So that is my request tonight.
Okay. Something the board will take under advisement.
Should I be heard on that?
I'm sure you'll have some questions with regards to it. Is that
it's ridiculous. I
should
then
Please. Give me a second. Counsel, is that something publicly we should discuss, or is it something in private
Discuss it
quarters?
now, and maybe you can set up a time, maybe at the beginning, prior to your...
Brian, do you have any issues with the request?
No, I'm dying to see what they want to show us. We've been waiting for hours.
You know what? It better be good with this
I'd
setup.
I'd like to do it tonight, but I don't want to throw everything.
I don't have any issues with it. In fact, I'd be good with it.
Okay, yes, sir.
Okay?
I think it makes a lot of sense.
I'd like to be heard on it
Okay.
before you make a motion.
I just have a question, if since everybody is here this evening, and depending on how quickly we can get through the rest of the agenda, it would probably make a lot of sense, since you have your consultants here, to sort of move along with it and not delay it any further, so perhaps to move it toward the end of the agenda.
You know, I thought about that. My preference would be to do it when the board is fresh, because it's going to be long. It's going to take me an hour, and I've got
At the
two
close of this
consultants.
meeting as well, we are going to be losing one of our board
Right,
members.
so I just think it's better for everybody.
Very good. Okay.
Can I be heard, please?
I'm sure there are other comments. I'm sure you
Well, I
want
want
to
to
do
be heard on
every...
this procedural
Please, go ahead.
issue. First of all, there's absolutely nothing, no due process issue is affected at all. There's a reason why boards have 3-minute rules, because everyone is able to present whatever they want in writing. This is the 4th hearing. They have heard everything that we've had to say. We've come back with comments. There's clearly there must be some sort of burden as to why all this wasn't presented in the past. You get a drib and drab, as is Mr. Bragman's wont. He comes in with every meeting. He did it on the Farrell application. He comes in with new matter, new material, which there's no reason why he couldn't have presented it when he was first here. This is the 4th hearing. So justice delayed is justice denied. That's what's happening to my client. There must be some sort of burden for him to demonstrate why all of this stuff wasn't available in one of the last 4 or 5 hearings on this matter. So it's an absolute prejudice. There's an absolute prejudice to my client. He hasn't demonstrated why all this stuff isn't available. If for some reason you're going to take the totally out of the ordinary step, which I object to, of having some sort of meeting, the meeting should be before the next scheduled hearing, number 1. And number 2, Mr. Bragman's should present tonight every writing that he has, all the writings that his experts have, everything that he was going to present in writing, so that hopefully, if you're going to entertain this meeting, I won't have to take your time to ask for an adjournment, and I'll be prepared that evening to respond to that information. I think that's only fair, since we're taking this unprecedented, as far as I can see, step of having this separate meeting, which again I object to. If there's anything that Ms. LaCourie has in writing, or I see there's an expert here, maybe a historic consultant has in writing, I'm sure they have these things in writing, ready to prepared, ready to submit tonight, you should require them to give them to me and my team, so that I can be ready and not waste your time.
I won't require him to give it to you.
Yes.
I can require them to give
I
it to
apologize, yes, of course. That's what I meant, and that's what I meant.
Okay.
If there's anything that's, if Mr. Bragman is objecting it, then all he's trying to do is to have some sort of administrative hearing by ambush. I'm trying for administrative efficiency to be able to have the matter and respond to it all in an efficient, quick manner.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Jeff.
I have a comment or two, and I'm afraid I'm going to make the comment, because I'm making a record here. As I said, when I present to the board, it's not merely presenting to the board, it's having an opportunity for members of the public to hear what I say. That's part of a public hearing. We don't conduct public hearings in writing by written submission. So the idea that this could be done by written submission is not appropriate, it's wrong, and it is a denial of due process to limit only one team. Secondly, I don't have anything in writing that I can submit to you tonight.
So that's the question.
I do not have anything that I can submit to you.
The question was, do you have anything in writing? The answer is they do not.
I do not.
Okay.
That took 10 seconds.
That's a model.
Has nothing in writing.
That's correct.
The question was, do they have anything in
They have
writing?
nothing in writing
The answer
to
was
give
no.
them tonight.
Okay.
Do you want to set a time now?
Yes.
Good.
Is there additional public comment? Please step forward.
May I pass that for the...
On this application, right?
450, yes.
Yeah.
And the date is September 8th because this was not permitted to be presented last time because it was closed.
Would you give us your name, please?
Regina Grieven.
Thank you.
Ox Pasture Road. This is from several residents of the immediate area. They've asked me to read the letter. Dear Chairman Highsmith and members of the board, we are writing to express our concerns over the application to build a modern house in the historic district of 450 Gin Lane. The house, as designed by Blaise McCoy, is unsuitable and incompatible with the site at the southern end of Old Town Road. This neighborhood has wonderful vistas enjoyed by local homeowners and numerous village residents and visitors who run, bike, fish, and frequent both nearby Old Town and Wyandanch beaches. It is adjacent to the site of the first English settlement in New York State and is one of the village's most historic and visible areas. To quote the architectural design guidelines of historic districts and landmarks prepared by the Village of Southampton in November 2000, quote, new construction should follow the general massing of the surrounding buildings. Where there is a variety of building widths and spaces between buildings, new construction should stay within this range, rather than establish new limits of its own. New construction should respect the predominant vertical, horizontal, or balanced appearance of its surroundings. Similar roof form and pitch characterize some neighborhoods in the village's historic districts. Other neighborhoods exhibit a wide variety. Modern architecture often emphasizes a flat roof, and this may not be appropriate in areas outside of the village's commercial areas. Concrete, metal, and stucco are not appropriate building materials for new construction in the historic district. Door and window openings in the village's historic district often share similar size, spacing, and shapes. Glass ribbon windows, picture windows, or prominent pseudo-Palladian windows create a void to solid ratio that may be incompatible with the surrounding architecture. The current design of 450 Gin Lane ignores virtually all of the guidelines of this report just quoted, and also of Chapter 65 of the village's zoning code. We recognize there are design challenges given the configuration of this lot and its unusual building envelope. However, these challenges do not alleviate the board's duty to follow its code. A certificate of appropriateness cannot be logically approved for the current design. The materials, windows, roof lines, massing, width, and orientation are not compatible with the surrounding neighborhood. Please request a revised plan which will respect and enhance the historic designation of the Old Town neighborhood. Sincerely, Susan Allen, Herbert Allen, Walter L. Dean, Suzanne Draghi, Christopher Errico, Adrian and Nina Jones, Carter and Jean Kegel, Ann Lynch, William and Allison Pappas, Peter and Marge Sullivan, Gil and Dorothy Tennant, and Adrienne Wallace. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much. Any more comments?
Hi there. My name's Jeff Broadley. I'm at 166 Halsey in the village. I just wanted to make sure that the board had received, along the lines of Mrs. Grieven, the issues of incompatibility and a report that I believe had been submitted prior to the past meeting by Sally Spanberg. Is that something that you had received?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure that you did, which referenced the same issue, so thank you. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Do you want another copy, or are you all set?
We're
Great,
okay.
thanks.
Any more comments? Step forward.
My name is Rick Kearns, and I'm a village resident. And I'm responding to the article that I haven't really seen all these plans tonight, but I saw the article in the press a couple weeks ago by Ann Searchin. And I have to say, when I saw this strongly horizontal flat roof building, I thought it was extremely out of place. I'm glad that it isn't a Neo Geo or a McMansion, but I think it's the wrong expression in that particular place, which has so much visibility because of the open space of Old Town Pond. And in that area in particular, the houses, they express that typical resort, 20th century resort romanticism and picturesque quality of so many buildings in the village. And it's all about the roof. And if you just look at the buildings around in that area, the first thing you notice is the heavily pitched roof. And I think that this building just misses the boat entirely in that respect. And I particularly think that some other contemporary buildings have gone to a lot of trouble to really reduce the strong massiveness of the interior square footage. And just for example, a recent construction at 140 Gin Lane. It's at the corner, at the western, southwestern corner of Gin and Little Plains. Everything about it is modern. There's no phony colony, anything on it. It's an expression of its time and of its day. And that you approved. Here's another one of my favorite structures. Is Southerly at 200 Gin Lane. You see, they go back to these almost medieval 17th century forms that were the basic building blocks of New England, and they take a massive building and they break it up into small forms. This is what this area needs. And then there's this beautiful house at 426 Gin Lane on the southeast corner of Wyandanch, which is a complete wonderful modern structure using traditional materials, however, but a very elegant and very exciting composition. And I think that that's where this proposal with this strong horizontality and flat roof in this location with the high visibility is just the wrong expression for this place. And as a resident, I really strongly object to this. And I also think, and I would say that in addition to being a resident, I do have a master's in urban design from the University of Virginia, and I've worked for the National Trust and for the Department of the Interior and Historic Annapolis and the Preservation Foundation of Palm Beach. So I have been involved in a lot of review of modern buildings that go in not just historic districts or National Register districts, but National Historic Landmark districts, and dealing with National Historic Landmarks, which are significantly more important nationally than just National Register areas. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
Any more public comment? Okay, the topic of discussion has to do with establishing a special meeting for the application to hear opposition presentation on the application. Obviously, at this evening, we unfortunately would not be able to accommodate for an hour meeting, but the question is fairness, and the attorney for the opposition has some concerns about not having the opportunity to properly present his case. Board members, how do you feel about a special meeting? Ham?
I think it's a good thing. I would be very much for it in this application, because it also it's a very important area in the village. It's right on the end of Old Town. It's visible public right-of-ways are both on the north and the south. It's a distinctly different type of architecture in that vernacular, and I think it's important that we analyze it in both directions, both ways.
Esther?
I would agree with what Ham said. However, I am concerned that we're setting a precedent that from now on, anybody that has an objection, we're now going to get into special hearings, which is why I would really prefer, and I'm sure that Mr. Bragman has a lot to say, and I would certainly like to hear it. I would prefer to do it, if possible, tonight, And I also feel that it would be helpful to have as many written comments as quickly as possible. So, I mean, I'm not really happy to be staying as late as it will probably require, but everybody is here, and I would rather do it sooner rather than later.
Brian?
I agree with both Esther and Ham. I do feel that the homeowner next door very politely requested additional time to get a team together, and we honored that, and it was unfortunate at the last meeting that we couldn't hear them and when they were ready to do this. I would rather get it over with at a normal meeting and not have a special meeting because of the precedent that it would set. And I still feel that no one really needs an hour to present what they need to do, just from the attorney point of view and with the consultant. So we're talking an hour and a half, 2 hours. No one needs that amount of time.
May I make a suggestion? Why don't you put it at the end of the hearing tonight? Take
That's
as much
on
as
the
you
table.
can,
Now,
and
that's
then
on the
hear
table as
rest
well.
at
The only issue with this evening is that we lose one of our board members. And one of the board members is not able to hear all of the information from, at least from these conception and presentation, is a substantial amount of information that will be presented. So not having him present at that time could handicap his ability to really render
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
He could watch it on the video.
One issue I would have, we've had special meetings before, quite a lot. In the last 14 years, we've had a number of them. I think this application speaks to...
I don't think we've ever had an open application special meeting.
No, we just had one on 40 Meadows, so I'm not suggesting that we open
No,
and
we
close
never had
meetings.
it. We never had a
Special
special-
application, I'm sorry. Parish Art Museum is one of them, before you were on the board.
That didn't
Any
go
of you
too
guys.
well.
It did actually go very well. Actually worked out very well for the public. And ultimately, that decision was the public's. This is a major application, as was 40's. I think if we occasionally, from time to time, find that there's an exceptional application in the village due to its nature, due to its location, I am all for having a separate meeting that can achieve an equal position, not an equal position, that can achieve a little bit more presentation than just screaming and yelling constantly. This board is consistently and totally overwhelmed by a lot of professionals. And I think once in a while it's good to take a step back and to select, not cherry pick, but select one or two applications and have a meeting that's focused towards those important ones from time to time. So it's not a precedent, in my view.
If I may, there's
Necessity.
nothing to say you can't hear this at the next meeting and get it done. Why would you assume that that can't happen? And why wouldn't you assume that you could hear
I
it
lean
already
towards,
from-
hear me out.
Sorry.
I lean towards not having one of the board members here publicly at our next meeting, setting aside and making this the last application of the evening. That way, the public who want to be here for that application have the right to listen and wait until that application is heard. I don't want to, I personally wouldn't want to offend those that are here for other applications and have them wait an hour for a presentation. If there's no objection to the applicant, we can adjourn for our next meeting and then present that information at our next board meeting.
I think you should keep it
That's
on the regular schedule. I think you get in trouble when you start deciding what's a special application.
I agree with you.
I agree with you.
Really
I agree
slippery
with you.
I agree with you.
All right. If there's no objection to the homeowner that we hold over to our next meeting, I also asked if you could do a more abbreviated version of your presentation. An hour is a lot of time. I'm assuming that's an estimate of an hour. That's more like an hour and a half.
It's an estimate,
Yes.
and I may very well be able to. It's just, excuse me.
Any information you can present before this board ahead of time so that
Let me be the lawyer for a minute.
you're paying him big bucks.
Yeah, I was going to actually suggest that earlier, that if we could just schedule it and put it at the end, that's fine with me. I will certainly try to be as concise as I can. I want to avoid that feeling of having to just get my words out so rapidly. And if we do it at the end of the next hearing,
And
I'll go with it.
Could we ask that you be kind enough to put things in writing?
Well, I may not do that because, frankly, my practice generally is to come speak to the board, present witnesses to the board, and follow up with written submissions. So I can't guarantee you that we're going to have written
Can't force
submissions.
him to give information.
We
We made the compromise at our next meeting.
Fine.
If he has no material or information to hand into the board,
Jeff can
he
talk
doesn't
as
have
long
it.
as he wants at the next meeting.
Okay. Well, I didn't say that.
I said I have no objection to it.
Okay.
Well,
all right.
John,
So you're asking
John
us-
is just being chairman. It happens.
Any further public comment?
Could I just thank you? We do have something to say, and the opportunity to address you would be appreciated whenever. We're not trying to delay this. It's whatever your schedule permits. Thank you.
One comment, Mr. Chair, for if we can on the agenda, just as we have signs, historic district set and non-historic.
It will be under
Can we
special-
have a separate section on the bottom that's dedicated towards this hearing?
Yes.
Okay, so that those people don't have to wait, and so they can be targeted as
I'm
a
sure
time.
that information can get relayed back to the building department in the morning for. Thank you. Nothing further from the board. You're asking the board to adjourn, correct? Motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn until our next
Can I
meeting.
make a motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn 450 Gin Lane SH LLC to our next meeting?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next application, please.
Next application is David and Sylvia Hermer, 51 Pond Lane.
The applicant present?
Pond Lane?
You want to adjourn?
We'll wait till second call. I'm sure they'll be present. He's here. I know I saw him. Yeah.
All right, so we'll come back.
Next application.
The next application is closed for public comment. It's 436 Gin Lane.
Council?
It's a written decision.
Well, public comment, we haven't enforced as of yet.
Still
do you-
discussing.
do you- Still in the discussion. No
Okay.
consensus of the board?
Close.
Very good. Next application, please.
Next application is Blake and,
Can we take 1 second to get rid of that?
Wait, is that Pond Lane or is that?
no.
With yours, I can put it down so while you're
Yes.
talking.
It's talking about the
Thank you.
noise.
You see Myers out of the corner of the...
You start talking.
Actually, I see Pond Lane.
All right, let's just finish out with the written decision on
Original.
103 Elm. Council?
Decision in the file approving the application as submitted. An affirmative vote on the motion will be to approve the application.
Motion to approve written decision by council.
I make a motion to approve written decision by council for Blake and Anne Marie Myers, 103 Elm Street.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do you want the file?
Recall on
51
51 Pond Lane. Is the applicant
David
present?
Hermer, 51 Pond Lane. The applicant present.
Coming.
Okay.
Give me a moment.
So this is,
Bless you. Very welcome.
Good evening for the applicant, Stephen Lemansky, Southampton Engineering Services. A couple of weeks ago, we put the revised, for the third or fourth time revised plans into the file with the landscape plan. I think you've had time to look at it. We made all the changes that were recommended, so at this point, wanted to ask to close the public hearing and actually ask for a decision.
Any public comment on the application? Brian, any comments?
I was fully satisfied with everything Steve presented to us. I think he did a great job and responded to everything we asked him, so I'm ready to vote on it.
Esther?
yeah, we reviewed the file, and we do thank you for all the changes that you
Right.
made and the landscape plan.
Well, we think it was important too.
Yeah, thank you.
Ham?
I'm good with it.
No problems with the application, no problems with the, I don't have any issues with landscape plan. All of the work that was required to be done is complete, it's finished.
Yeah.
Everything.
And are these samples of the materials that you have?
Right, this was the shutters and the sidewalls with the trim boards.
The inventory is complete?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, If there's nothing further from the board, as you are aware, property is in a historic district and therefore requires written decision. So at our next meeting, our council will prepare a written decision on this application. Any questions? No questions?
Nope.
All right.
Thanks very
Motion
much.
to close for written decision by council.
I make a motion to close for written decision by council. David and Sylvia Hermer, 51 Pond Lane.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good
Aye.
luck. That's the closure of our historic applications for this evening. First application, non-historic.
A Farrell Building Company, 80 Downs Path.
There you go.
There's the applicant here.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. Brian Mahoney, landscape architect for Downspath Project.
And Terrence McKean. I'm representing Will Manier, the architect. And we have a handout for you. In the handout, we put some more of the technical information as opposed to the actual presentation stuff. It has dimensions, all the details that were requested. We also included the rendering just so you could still get the overall picture of it. As requested for the board, we have a landscape plan, and Brian would like to go over that with you.
I don't know if you're familiar with the site. There's an existing house that was removed.
Not anymore. I drove by today. It's gone.
It's gone, yes. The privet hedge to the north will remain. To the south, we'd like to add a new privet hedge, keeping and maintaining the current street trees, which are noted on the plan, and a very basic foundation plan consisting of things that you'd see in the neighborhood, deer-resistant plant palette, boxwoods, lagerstromia, red maples, and some Coosa dogwoods.
How high is the privet hedge?
8 to 10 feet. The current one to the north is 10 feet.
I don't have any issues with this.
Brian?
No, I think everything we asked for is here,
Yep.
so I'm fine with it.
Yeah, we have all the dimensions.
All
And
the
the
details
landscape
are there.
plan, yeah.
Thank you.
Good there. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any public comment on the application? Public comment? Motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve Farrell Building Company, 80 Downs Path.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good luck.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
Next application, 320 Murray Place, LLC.
Frontal first. Start at the front door.
Where's your plans? Last app.
Tim, have you made any changes since the last?
Just let me, because some of the board members weren't here.
I'm aware of that. That was a dry run, but have you made any substantial changes?
No, I wanted to be full, because some of the board members weren't here. Please let us do our presentation, okay?
No? Okay.
So,
Thanks.
just for...
We built the model of it.
Got it.
Thank you.
Okay, this
I
is,
appreciate that.
John, and this is an application for a single-family residence with accessory structures on 4.7 acres. Applicant is proposing terraced patios in addition to the house, swimming pool, and extensive landscaping plan. There are some important things to note for the board's edification in terms of our attempts to minimize any impacts to the neighborhood and bring this property into conforming with zoning. The existing house is at a non-conforming setback of 51 feet to the west. The proposed house will conform with the required 80-foot setback. All required zoning setbacks for the house will be met. The applicant has a letter from the chief building inspector stating that the house may be constructed which would allow a traditional house to be constructed 52 feet above sea level. The proposed house at its highest is 8 feet lower than that, and much of the house is about 6 feet lower than that. This property is not in the historic district and is on a private road. It's in the Murray McDonald compound. The board has allowed construction of contemporary homes. For example, the house at 1 Squabble Lane, and I submitted elevations from 1 Squabble Lane the last time. Also note that one house to the west is a Jaffe design, and one house to the east is a Jaffe design, 3 houses to the east. I don't know the designer. It's the house owned by Leslie Alexander, which is a very, very contemporary house. So we'd simply ask the board to keep these factors in mind when considering this application. Thank you.
Start building the house here?
I am. No foundations. You want to give me another break? You know what? I'm going to do this. A little easier. You can have that after all.
You better move.
Gotta move. I'm telling you, I'm going to have you in a little corner over here. Tim Haynes, architect for 320 Murray. Sorry if I repeat myself a little bit, but it was a little bit of a dry run. Client of mine called me and said, I've seen this really magical property. I think I love it. Would you mind, are you out there this weekend? Go drive by. So I said, love to. So I went and looked at the property, and I did that for a couple of weeks in a row to see how I felt about it, see it at different times. And obviously there's a house sort of dilapidated on it, but beyond that, what struck me was there was just this open breadth, because the house was pushed way over to one side, so you could really feel the breadth of it. And I had sort of gotten up on the terrace of a house that's out in the dune on the existing property, and sort of snapped a shot of the horizon line. And that's what struck me about the property. It was what I would call a wide piece of property. It had a relatively consistent dune. And it was just this open, sort of flat land that went up with this crest of consistent dune, beautiful horizon line that sort of bayed out a bit so that you had clearance on the 2 sides. And there was a certain calmness to it. And I called him and I said, I think it's a great property. And he said, well, what would you do there? And I talked to him about this idea of the long, low horizon line. And I said, I'd like to sort of try to capture that architecturally. And he said, okay, tell me some more. I said, I have a concept of taking that horizon line and expressing it architecturally. And to me, that means low, central, horizontal building that feels light and that you feel this tranquil airiness to. And I said, so I would start with that, and I would run parallel to that horizon line. And then I said, we need programmatically, that would be your public rooms. Programmatically, we need bedrooms and garages and those things. And I said, the way the site is and where you enter it, I would create those perpendicular to the ocean. And I said the first one I would push receding towards the ocean more so that as you drove in, it would push away from you. And as you came around the bend, the other arm would reach out and sort of stop you and bring your vision back to my initial concept of the horizontal line in architecture. So these were the first elevations conceptual that we had done that would put this graphically into form. So here was my horizon line of the ocean, but now rendered in steel and glass, and the two bays that would anchor that back into the landscape. And I was meeting with Ed Hollander and asked him if he would, be excited about this, and he said absolutely. And I said, what I'd love to do is set all of this into a completely natural dunescape. I said, I don't want a front lawn, I don't want a mowed grass, I want it to just be the dune, get rid of all of the mowed grass and bring the dunescape and create a new dunescape that this anchored and in an organic way sort of embraced the architecture. And so that's what we did in this case. And vegetating the entire perimeter, which Ed can talk about in terms of that. And then as it turns and faces the water, maybe guys, can you give me a little, I didn't get to the gym. Is that too, I want to get it down where they can see it. So what we did was again, to reinforce that horizon line, with a negative edge, we stretched a pool the entire width of the structure, so that my concept of that horizon line got embodied into that architecturally and reinforced by Ed's design for the negative edge pool, which actually the building comes and actually sits in at this end of the building. And as we faced the water then, we began to disintegrate the building so that we have areas, I'm going to turn a little bit towards you, where we create open zones that are covered. Unlike me, no one likes to be in the sun anymore. And so we got cover in those two ends, and we began to disintegrate into this side into a lot of glass towards the water. In the vocabulary of designing this, materiality-wise, we had obviously gone to some of the early modernist, either iconic structures like Farnsworth or Philip Johnson's glass house, to the now gone Bunshaft house, which was our inspiration sort of for the two more solid end bars. That gave us the language of the end bars. The middle section was taken from Farnsworth and the glass house in terms of inspiration, so that we could minimize with the steel, so that all of the interstitial members are a matte-coated charcoal steel. For the glass, we've developed, now looking at Pilkington glass, which takes the reflectivity down from a typical 8% to 2% of interior and exterior, while still giving you 90% transmission of light through it. And so that's where we are sort of settling as we speak right now, so that we reduce our glare inside in the glass and the glare that's given from the sun outwardly. For the main part, anything that's solid, we've gone to a cedar that has bleaching oil and a little bit of gray stain in with the bleaching oil. And the base of the building that takes us back into the sand dunes, we have a charcoal brick, and the terrace materials are this gray stone, which is called madras, sandblasted madras. I think before, and it's in your packets, and do we include the section this time through?
Yes, the section is towards the back.
Towards the back.
That's third to the last page.
Okay, and we showed you how we achieved that section, which is the view from the public ocean. I think, what did we say? At 4 feet above sea level with a 6-foot tall person?
Exactly.
It's third to the last. And then I know this will come up, and Ed is going to speak to this, not to let my model take precedent over Ed's beautiful drawings, also to give you
Tim, how wide is this house as it presents?
170 feet.
170 feet wide. And the width of the house from point to point, from inward points north and south? Yeah.
Furthest point?
Yeah.
I can tell you.
But the ocean side or the beachfront side is 170 feet of building?
Yes.
Is that correct? And how big is the lot? How
I'd
wide?
say this is about 150.
4.3 acres.
4.3.
But how wide is that as it appears on the south?
How wide is the property?
Ed, what I'm looking at is the south from
Yeah.
east to west.
That's what I'm
And
trying to tell you right
relationship
now.
to the size of the building to what's exposed.
I would say, it looks to me like it's about 300 and...
South at 62 and 263.
283, it's about 320 feet, Ham.
Okay. So it's about half, a little less than.
Yeah, a little more than that.
More than that, right.
Just so, my name's Edmund Hollander, I'm the landscape architect for the project. Just to talk to landscape a little bit, there are really two components to the landscape here. One is to develop an ecologically appropriate landscape of dunes and beach grass that will, while this is not absolutely directly on the water, I think we've seen the impact that lawn fertilizers and chemicals are starting to have on water quality of all of our bays out here. And when Tim suggested we do something where we really minimize the amount of lawn that we have, I think was really a very good concept for this and for other projects. And so what we have proposed to do is to use the elevation that the house is sitting at and, in effect, to set this house back into the dunes. And so the house rolls into the dunes on one side, rolls out of the dunes on the other side. And that accomplishes a great deal in terms of giving the house, with this form of architecture, a very natural setting so there is no competition. The other problem we always run into in the ocean is privacy. Because of the ocean winds and the salt winds, how do we give neighbors a sense of visual separation from house to house? It's not what we can do on ox pasture where we can put in 40-foot tall trees, but what we've managed to accomplish at this property, which I think is it's a serendipitous advantage that the house has been elevated to some extent to deal with all of the FEMA issues and things like that. And what that has allowed us to do in some areas, on the north side there is an existing double hedge that's 15 or 20 feet tall. On the east side, there's a 15 or 20 foot tall double hedge already, which we would preserve, and we've already started to take care of those, prune them, fertilize them, bring them back so that we really enhance and preserve the privacy that we have over here. On the west side, where there is a fairly large house here, what we're proposing to do, which deals with both grade issues and privacy, is by stepping up 2 4-foot-high walls that you can see over here. What it allows us to do is to have a 4-foot-high wall that's screened, have a 4-foot-high wall that's screened, and then on top of that inner wall, where we're now 8 feet above the adjacent grade, we're proposing to plant 14 to 16-foot evergreen trees. And in effect, what we're able to accomplish here, which I don't know I've ever been able to accomplish before in my career, is to provide an immediate 24-foot tall evergreen screen from an adjacent property. I think it's good for our clients. It's good for the neighbor's client. The reality is everybody wants to have a reasonable level of privacy, which is a difficult thing for us to accomplish on a lot of the properties along Meadow Lane and other areas where we don't have a lot of room. So I think in this case, we've been able to both give our clients and the neighbors a sense that this is a home that's set into the dunes, that's ecologically appropriate, and that provides one of the best levels of screening we've ever been able to achieve in the few homes we've done out here.
Because the house in section on this side is 17 feet as well, and this is the 20-foot line. So our house
is below the level of the adjacent evergreens.
Is below this for the first 12 feet, and then it steps up.
Does that come all the way up to the pool?
It'll come all the way to here. That's the section that we're proposing to do that in.
And I just have a question.
Yes.
The crest of dune height as it relates to the height of the top of the roof, what is that relationship?
Crest of dune height is about, I think, 2022, Tim?
Crest of Dune is at 20.
20.
20 topo line.
20.
Right.
The house,
And-
by the way, is 122.5 feet
Right.
back from the
But
crest
what's
of Dune.
the-
If I can finish, Ham.
No, I actually
It's
have a question. I
125
want to
feet
have
from
an
the back
answer
of the
first.
crest of
John,
Dune,
I have a question.
which is 22 feet
Is-
more than
you
the
want me to leave?
setback.
Or do you want to answer the question? What is the ridge height of the house as it relates to the crest of dune? That was my question.
24.
24?
Right?
So the difference between the crest of the dune
And
and
the
the
top-
top of the building?
Well, the reality is crest of dune for sand is 22. By the time there's beach grass, bayberry, et cetera,
That's
we're
great.
probably 26, 28. So in effect,
It's at the same
below-
level, right?
It's at the same level or below the height of the vegetation at the crest of dune.
Got it.
So
That
in
was
a
the
single
question.
story from the beach, you would not be able to
So you're
see
not going to see it?
That's what
Not
you're
at my
saying.
height.
I challenge too, so it doesn't matter.
Thank you,
Maybe
Ed.
Tim, but,
Yeah, got it.
you shouldn't allow people to
John,
stall in the
sorry,
village.
Go ahead, John.
No, I just wanted to point out in terms of where the house sits and in terms of the zoning setbacks.
Right,
it's
what I was thinking
100
is visual.
I understand, but that has an effect on the visual impact
Sure it
because it's
does.
22 feet further back from the crest of the dune than it's allowed.
Understood.
Yes, we've not built the house out towards the ocean as far as we could
Not
by
putting a
22
boardwalk.
feet.
No board.
Got it.
Got it. Thank you.
Brian, you have any comments?
I think it's a beautiful presentation. I want to hear some of the public comment.
Okay. Esther, any
Very,
comments?
very nice house.
I really want to say thank you very much for the model. That is enormously helpful. And Ed, thank you for the
plan,
landscape
too.
plan, which is really unbelievably creative.
Thank you.
The brick. The brick. You didn't, I'm sorry. You brought it up here, so you might as well talk about it.
Oh,
That's the base.
it's the base of the building. It's just
That's
the
not
first.
visible.
For the record.
You'll see this much of
I
it
got you.
coming out of
Thank you.
it. I was going to bring sand.
We're already here an hour later than we're supposed to be. Ham, you have any comments?
I'm trying to be quick.
I'd like to hear.
Any public comment on the application? Please step forward.
My name is John Sullivan. I happen to be the unfortunate neighbor who is going to have this great-looking house in an area which is Southampton. And what's happening out here is very disturbing. It's these wonderful young creators of modern homes, and whether you're entitled to it, this house, folks, does not belong in the Murray compound. I came to Southampton in 1961. I came here because I had heard about it, read about it, and I wanted a new way of life. I came out here and I said to myself, I want to find an area that I can build my home on. And by 1986, I found that lot. It happened to be next to a chap that I became very friendly with, who has just passed away, and so the property has come up for sale. I've been in this lot for over 25 years now. It is a magnificent piece of land, and I was fortunate enough to buy the land behind it and build a second house directly behind me for my daughter, who is going to represent me tonight. We have objections, obviously. This is beautiful. It doesn't belong in this area. I could mention some places that it would work out, but I'm not going to. It encroaches on my privacy completely. It's right up against the line, 30 feet. There's plenty of space on the other side. I understand from what my daughter has shown me that the second story, beginning of the second story, is all glass. And I've heard the story about, well, they got a new glass out. I ask you, if any one of you were to live where I live and be the guy that's going to have to live with this, why in America at this point become the guy who figures something out, finds a plot, and becomes the loser? I ask any one of you to come down to look at my place and see how I'm going to be blocked, how I'm up against a house where their bedroom is exactly across from mine with a porch. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. So all I'm saying to you is, I know the rules and regulations. I'm going to have to eat this if it happens. And all I'm saying is, something can be done with this presentation that moves this house. So I understand that they are 30 feet in front of me on the east side of the house. So I'd just like to say that I bought this property back in '87. I moved away from being a summer guest. I'm a year-round guest. I bought my burial plots over in Watermill by the windmill. By the windmill. I'm in back of the windmill. 10 spaces for my family. So I'm just saying to you, you just can't take this thing and put it here. It doesn't belong here. They're over the line, all across the line, up all the houses, all in line. This thing is out. He's built a low house. Oh, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. But it's 35 to 40 feet high. I have to look at a flat roof.
Okay.
Anyway, that's my case. Be fair.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thank you. We appreciate your comments. Please.
The daughter.
I don't know how you're gonna behind that.
I've never been able to top Dad, but I'm gonna try to keep up. I know you don't want a lot of handouts, so you want just 2 instead of 6?
2 is fine. Thank you. John, put your phone away.
Oh, sorry.
So, I know you all have this survey in your file, and what I did was I just highlighted my father's structure, the actual living space. And
That scale to.
Well, this is their survey, so I'm assuming that this is to scale. I should never assume, but that is what I was looking at, and I've measured from the front of his house to the lines of what
Lisa,
they're
where is your house
proposing.
located?
This purple is my father's house.
Is your dad's house, right?
I'm back here.
And you're back, a lot or two back, right?
I am, yes, he purchased this lot and I'm behind him.
And your concern is that.
So I'm representing my father right now, and I'm also representing Murray Place because I kind of collect the funds to maintain Murray Place as a private road, to have the trees maintained, the hedges trimmed in certain areas, the road repaved, bringing the water down, and that sort of thing. So I'm kind of a jack of all trades as far as this is concerned. But what I wanted to show you here was that the outline of my father's home. This is the proposed home next door, and it's this arm that reaches forward that looks within scale here but this part juts out where the pink line is, 30 feet in front of my father's home. And then where the blue line is the continuation of the pool, which meets up with the pool house that will stay because it's a pre-existing structure, which they're going to make into a studio as well, but it even doesn't go online. It's even a little bit further than where that is. What we were really concerned with is that in the elevations, this is all glass, this patio, this front patio. And I know that they're saying it's at 20% so forth, but the home, my father's home, sits back this way. So basically they are able to look back into the privacy and also blocking he's impinging on his view of the ocean as well. These tortuosus and the retaining walls, the existing two row hedge that is there now is 8.5 feet tall. So they're going to build a 9-foot retaining wall and then put in tortuosus above that. The wall will sit above our hedge, which we will fertilize, unfortunately, and make it grow a little faster. But even with a 12 to 14-foot tortuosus, it comes up just below the bedroom floor. And their bedroom floor sits higher than our bedroom floor. So now you have this house that, although it's into the dunes and the sand, sits up higher. I just wanted to give you an idea. And I wish that you would all come and just do a site visit to come and see.
We will.
What we're talking about. All of the homes to the west of the house, of the property, are all in line. And they're all very large homes. You have Howard Stern, Leonard Stern, this new unusual house, and then a couple of houses. But if you look, all the pools are online, the houses are online. This house sticks out further in front of this. To give you an idea of, this is the view from the bedroom balcony, and the view, this house will come up, this is the existing pool house, where the pool line will come across here. And then you have the view from Mrs. Sullivan's bathroom, which sits there. So even with all of the tortuosus and all of the other stuff, thank you. I won't hurt it, I promise.
I know, no, you won't on purpose.
I wouldn't even do it, not on purpose. So this is a view of her bathroom here. This is from the other side, looking, I'm so bad this way, west. And this is Howard Stern's house. The bathroom windows are exactly in the same spot of the house on either side. And even with Howard Stern's large house, you can see that it doesn't jut out in front of the home. They're all in line. Sorry, Ham, I'll be fast. So there's a privacy issue that we're concerned with the house being that far in front, especially with all the glass. I guess with this 20%, the reflection's not going to be a problem, but it is a beautiful sunset, and that light does come in hard and will reflect off of it. The other thing is, because you are an architectural review board, I just wanted to give you an idea of Murray Place. And I know during the dry run, Mr. Bennett said we are the Murray McDonald compound. Well, every road is maintained by a different person. Squabble Lane has their own squabblers, and they deal with their problems and their new homes and so forth. Murray Place has 11 homes, and everybody enjoys each other, respects each other, takes care of each other. And as you can see, the entrance to Murray Place has its own entrance down this beautiful street, and it even still contains 4 of the original Murray family homes, which are represented here. So we have the old stables, we have the old chicken coop, which actually Mrs. Pat Murray Wood still lives in, and she's redone hers. This is the original Murray house that the Kaufmans live in. The Carfs live in one of the original Murray structures over here, and this is one of the stables that the Siemens now live in. They all maintain their properties beautifully and are all very concerned about what is going to take place at the end of Murray
Lisa,
Place.
but your main point is the house location at about 30 feet forward of your dad's
That
house.
is, there are a lot of concerns. That is the first
That's
and
the
foremost
primary.
concern,
And the privacy issue.
And the privacy issue.
and the
correct?
privacy issue.
Okay, those are the two fundamentals.
Two fundamentals,
Okay,
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you, Lisa.
Any more public comment? Right, you know, this board is always concerned about privacy issues, and the neighbor who's mostly affected by that had comments and concerns about the privacy. Please present before this board, how are you going to either remedy that, or in your presentation, does it address it?
Oh, no balconies.
There's a step.
Well, we have,
Well.
we come out here.
It's covered.
They'll step out.
The height of the house on this side, which is, I know this does come to about 31.5 feet from the property line. Then 12 feet back, it steps up another 6 feet? No, to 24?
24.
So 7 feet. 7 feet. The height of this level, which is 12 feet above, and we have trees going in that are 20 foot.
I'm sorry, Tim, the balcony there, or that,
The balcony here,
what's the height of that? Sorry.
that is, we have an 11-foot ceiling
Right.
with 2 foot of, foot and a half of structure.
Yes.
So 11 and, so we're at 12 for 3, and we're at 24 here, right?
So
we have-
perspective, if this is a 10-foot ceiling in here, 11 maybe? That's about 1.5 feet taller than the ceiling.
Yes.
Is that level, and then you jump up another 7 feet.
Right, exactly.
Right. Ed, have you looked at how to increase the privacy on that side? Can you walk us through?
Well, the section might have been most illustrative because, first I want to thank Mr. Sullivan for talking about young architects having just been turned 60 years old. I thank you for still considering me young at that age. But
Well, can I just, one thing though, Ed, and you'll address this more.
Yeah.
This part of the house that is 17 feet tall will be completely blocked from any perspective by his planting. We then jump up those 6 feet, all of which are above eye level. No one could see in, and the level of this floor is the same as.
Talking about the 30-foot area of concern towards the south and how that's.
Well, if the house was
Right.
further back, it
So-
would have more impact.
Right, so we have, we have one high window that no one can see in, and they can't see out of. It's just bringing us light in from above. We have one large window here, yes, and that window with Ed's planting, the top of Ed's planting is within 3 feet of the top of that.
and let me also say, this is
Window.
the top of the planting the day it is planted.
Yes.
As with all things, things are going to grow, and I think that's also what we're doing is a reasonably extraordinary measure of privacy screening, because I think Mr. Sullivan has a good point in wanting to have privacy and wanting to be able to live in his own home with a fair amount of privacy, as do the clients here. I think everybody has the same goal in mind, is that they want to have privacy so they can enjoy their family and enjoy their home, which is a very reasonable thing, and the clients here would like the same thing, which is why they're willing to go to what is going to be a considerable expense to provide this level of privacy for both neighbors.
And I went over into their bedroom because last thing I want to do is ruin someone's time and we checked the level of their bedroom, because I was afraid after all, everything that's been going on in the village of Southampton, everyone's saying, well, your floor is up here, which is what everyone thought. If they said, well, you're building this house, you're going to be looking down into our bedroom, when in fact they were within 6 inches of being exactly at the same level. So we go to the same level, so no one's looking down or into anyone. We put up trees that, if they don't block the entire part of the house, block a person standing on the terrace and block a person standing inside at the window. The only thing I think that I might not like is, for a long time they've had no house
Guys,
there.
can you do a burlap mock-up there?
Put up a
Burlap mock-up, like you did
about how high that would be above
yeah.
of the building or of the
screening and building.
We'd have to get a couple of cherry pickers and.
That's been done many times
Yeah,
before.
we've
You've done it on Sugarman,
Yeah.
right? And it was successful.
Or you know, we could put up some bamboo poles that show the height of it and run it along there if I can. The reality is the top of the planting from the existing grade will be
You could
about
certify that as
24
similar to a
feet tall
balloon
or
test,
something,
but
right.
it's showing the relationship.
Yeah, I mean, it would be, if the board would like that to put up something that's 24 feet tall, we could talk to the builder and get something in there that could,
I
you know,
think
could
that'd
do
be,
that.
Be
that'd
enormously
be great.
helpful.
I think it might be helpful to your neighbor.
Even just a beachscape showing that house and your house, you know, into scale.
Is there a reason, I'm just trying to understand the reasoning for the setback, which is, I'm sorry, the neighbor had concerns about not being in alignment with the other homes.
Because well, first of all, that's not quite true.
Yeah, it's actually-
Well, that's, I want it addressed.
Well, fine. Go to the east. This is the Jaffe design. It's a house which is significantly further seaward. And also,
I didn't hear.
also, 3 to the east is, I don't know who designed this house. It's Leslie Alexander's house. Who
Is that your representation of this streetscape
Well, that's good.
we have here?
showing on the aerial
Google Earth.
how there are homes that are much further seaward. That's all.
I think we put it in the little cheat sheet packet.
Last page?
The last
Yeah.
page.
Last page.
Last page.
Thank you.
As the ocean moves around the bend, so do the houses start to follow it. I'm sure no one has vastly, as you know, as I say, legal in terms of if you're following the setback, this is 22 feet back from where it is
allowed to be.
Well, I'd like to see a mock-up of what the landscape would be on that side with this particular neighbor. Looking at it. Other than that, the materials to me are handsome, and I like the application. I'd just like to see the screening on that side.
Sure. Ryan?
I'd like to go visit the site. Actually.
And it
Esther?
would be ideal to visit the site with the screening mock-up.
Might as well get 2 things done at once.
And when you go to the site, you should
How long
also
would it- sorry,
look.
Tim, how long would it take you to have that arranged?
I have no idea.
Couple of weeks?
No,
More or less,
no. Prior to your next meeting.
Okay.
Prior to your next
Good.
meeting.
That would be great.
I'm leaving the country, but John will take care of it.
He'll be up there.
I'll get my
Yeah,
hammer.
okay.
I'll get my-
But what we're saying is, that's one of the things we want to look at
Right, sure.
as far as the landscape, and we want to visit the site for other reasons as well.
Esther, comments?
Let me just ask you one question about how you, I mean, we can do it, I've done it before where we've had like 2 guys with a cherry picker and we stretch out a roll of burlap. That may not be permanent enough. If you'd rather have it so that we do, you know, bamboo poles every 20 feet and put a ribbon through there.
I think the burlap would be more advantageous to looking at the site.
Because you're going to be about 28 feet up in the air, aren't you?
Well,
From grade there, you're probably about 12.
Right,
And
would be
you're
20
going
feet.
up,
So
and
I'd have to arrange to have 2 tree guys there with a roll of burlap, right?
Or, no, what's the easiest way is you scaffold either end, and then suspend the burlap between the 2 scaffolds. That'd be fine. Run the burlap on the easterly side of the scaffold. It works very easily.
Okay.
Okay?
And when it's flying over the...
Yeah, that'll work. And it's been done before.
Comments?
Do you have a question?
And then
Hey,
I just
just
wanted
give me
to-
a second, okay?
I just wanted to remind the board that this is, it's not a site plan board. We conform with
saved?
all setbacks, and indeed, most
Got it,
important.
John.
Got it, John.
Got it.
Esther?
Thank you.
Site visit, burlap, terrific, as soon as possible, thank you.
Will do.
Be great. Thanks, Tim.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Anything further from the public? If you have to step forward because you have to have it on the record?
I just wanted to ask a quick question. Looking at the house and the way it sits, there seems to be, if you look at this burlap structure, which I appreciate you asking for, there seems to be a lot of extra space in the back of this house. There's a lot of space allocated for parking and so forth, and I know they're going to be asking for a front yard variance for another garage, which will be now 5 cars. My question to you is, if you find that the burlapping and the landscaping, and because our big issue is that the house sits 30 feet in front of us, it seems that there is enough room on this property, with it being over 4 acres, that they would be able to push it back a teeny bit so that it would help with this impingement, this arm that reaches to the water. The Jaffe house that is there is a pre-existing house, and the FEMA line runs actually right through it. So it wouldn't be allowed to be built today. So I was.
So we can ask that, but this is an aesthetic board, not a zoning board. And I think the reason that we asked during the dry run, we asked whether that house could be moved back, but it would eliminate the possibility, I think, of the pool and some other things that had an impact on the house, I believe. Can you answer that again? Or?
Well, to move it back, Ed's probably the best
They
person.
say yes,
He had
it'd
to
be
work
great.
to move this and get the parking that was required and get the drive around the building was extremely difficult. It's actually
If you look at
tight.
it, it actually is quite tight to be able to come in because we've got the circle down here, so we're set back in off of what the property line would be. By the time we set our gates back where they need to be and the gates can open up, we really don't have a lot of room. We're having the cars parked in here. You don't want to have a driveway fall right into the front door of a house. I think the way this actually sits in here, not to in any way try and
No, I was just
But
asking a
right,
question
right.
because it looks like you have a
It's-
lot of
actually-
extra bushes over there.
There is some dunescape, but in terms of, unless we were to just come in and make a sharp left-hand turn, everything is about scale and proportion and trying to have a building sit on a site in a reasonable way and being able to come in and park and walk to the front door. Just as I'm sure you do at your home, you want to have a way where people can come out, get out of their car and walk up to the front door of the house. It's really all we've done. in this.
We appreciate the explanation.
But
It's not
stop.
purview
What?
of this board.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We
Thank
can
you.
go on and on. I just don't want to go too far over.
All right, and just let us know when,
We will.
if
We
it's on
will.
a Monday or, we're here Tuesday, Wednesday, we go back to the city, but we're back out Thursday,
Okay.
Friday, so it'd be nice, and we'd love to have you come on to the property as well and take a look.
Very well. Thank you.
Any further public comments? All right, the applicant's requesting the board to adjourn. Motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn.
I make a motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn 320 Murray Place LLC.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Where's the folder for this one?
I think I can do it.
Next application is for Melanie Geigel, 208 Herrick, right? Oh, yeah, Geigel, 208 Herrick Road for driveway gates. Is the applicant present? What do you say? A lot of Lisa's here.
Am I supposed to give up little plans, 2 sets, or?
You don't understand you have lack of real estate up here? And
Saves printing
it gets
costs.
messy.
Thank you. These are the ones that we looked at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, got it.
Sorry.
Let me see. Did you make changes on this? Lisa?
We changed the materials and we did open the spacing up, so that we.
This might be helpful here.
Oh,
and,
thank you.
And we took Brian's, suggestion of showing the gates in the photo.
Oh, the gate,
Lisa,
okay,
you may
this
want to
one.
wait till Brian just comes back. He went to get some water.
2.5 spacing?
It's variable, it varies.
What do you mean it's variable?
Meaning that they're not
Varies.
consistent.
It varies.
I know the definition of
I knew you were out
It's,
playing 18 holes today.
You don't have to tell my business.
There's 4-inch spacing, there's 3-inch spacing, and there's
Okay.
2.5-inch spacing. There's a picture for this.
Thank you. Yes.
So your random spacing has been increased.
My random spacing has been.
Percentage of transparency.
Percentage of transparency is what?
50% or the 1-to-1 ratio, however you want to word it.
1 to 1.
Brian?
What's that?
Just like color?
The color, we would like to use the same cedar boards that are on the house.
And is it stained? Or they
It's not
natural?
stained, it will go silver gray, it will turn silver
Got
gray.
it. Okay, on your AutoCAD, on your illustration, you show it as a
It
pea
is,
green.
well, it's not green, it's kind of a
Brown.
gray, it's very.
It's brownish gray.
Okay,
I
so
like
it's
some of the
natural.
colors. What's that?
It's natural then?
It's natural.
Okay. I don't have any
So-
issues.
Brian?
It's such a huge improvement. I don't have an issue with it. I think it's
Esther?
very simple.
I think it's
Yeah.
nicely done.
Any public comment on the application?
Nope. Okay, I make a motion to approve the application of Melanie Geigel for driveway gate.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Next
you.
application is Starbucks Coffee at 29 Hampton Road for exterior alterations.
John Bennett for the applicant, Lindsay
Give me
Tramashi.
1 second.
Okay, sure.
There's a sign application, to remind the board, there's a sign application and then the application for the alterations as well.
You might have had a chance to see this sign somewhere else.
Excuse me.
So Lindsay Tramachi and Anne-Marie Schmidt-Fumian from Starbucks.
Notice
are here.
of posting and notice of mailing. Nice job, Dan.
Nice, thank you. I did that myself.
Yeah, sure.
Not really.
I'm going to put these in the file.
Yes.
Just give you a little bit of a preview here. Starbucks Coffee intends to occupy the now vacant storefront at 29 Hampton Road. The majority of the modifications proposed by Starbucks are interior modifications. Only minor modifications are proposed to the existing facade. We are before the planning
Store
board.
right now, John?
What, excuse me?
What is the storefront
It's
now?
vacant.
Yeah, I know. What's the storefront on either side?
Well, you have
Abos.
Abos to the east,
Right.
and then you have like, what is it, the Perfect
Perfect
Person?
And
Yeah, right,
Perfect
yeah.
Person,
Right.
the hair salon.
Okay. So just for knowledge, it's across the street, right next to the paint store, right?
It's one to the west of the paint store.
Right.
Well, actually, it joins the paint store to the west.
Same building.
No, it's a different building. But, yes.
Got it.
Okay. It's a different building, it's a different lot, actually. Surprisingly, but it is.
See, real estate used to be there, right?
I don't know.
Yes, 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 yes.
Starbucks is proposing to locate signage consisting of green aluminum letters spelling Starbucks Coffee along the south and west facades, visible while traveling on Hampton Road.
It's actually wood.
It's-
The Starbucks coffee is wood.
Okay, well, I stand corrected. You can see it on A2102 of the application. The existing shake roofing along the roof overhang is proposed to be replaced with new cedar shingles. The existing stucco is proposed to be replaced with hardy plank lap siding. We have proposed siding samples in Arctic white. And there are additional windows with shutters painted Chelsea gray proposed along the western facade of the building. All trim is proposed to be painted Chelsea gray. Why not one of those samples would be helpful? The only addition to the building consists of a fence enclosure for garbage in the rear of the building. The rest is all not 1 square footage being added to the building. So you have the sign application, and as Ms. Schmidt-Fumian is showing you, here are the elevations, the renderings, and the samples.
So yeah, this is the existing, and we're basically siding the entire building, being very much in vein with the local architecture. We're really fixing up, as you can see, it needs a little bit of help right now. Signage, again, very subtle. It's going to be painted wooden letters, and they're going to just have our Starbucks green. There's one logo which is on the interior, not the exterior. And we're also touching up the back of the building, which right now looks quite desolate, with a new fence, also wood, painted white, and the only touch of color is a blue door.
How many lanterns on this side? And they're all facing down?
4.
Yeah, they're all downward
They're
facing.
gooseneck,
light.
they're here.
The existing lighting is not downward facing. This would be an improvement.
And the only other side accessories is benches, custom-made benches. They're going to be white painted wood, and we're going to have custom planters on the front of the building.
Has the village approved the?
Yeah, I was going to ask the same question.
Those benches?
We're before the village for site plan approval, right?
Is that part of this application?
In regards to whether it is or isn't, if it can't be, it won't be.
Yeah, fair enough.
So what would be where are these things placed again? Is that blocking the brick that's right below the glazing, existing glazing?
They would be, there's no brick there.
Okay,
It's
what
all
is the
stucco.
material? It's all stucco, I'm
The
sorry.
only brick is that column, that odd
The
column.
column
that-
is
that
is
supports
brick and then the
yeah.
entry is an angular.
Yes.
But are these
It's
planters in any way,
Within the, it's inset.
by not having them, would it affect your elevation?
No.
So, okay. Thank you. And a cedar roof, correct?
Yes.
And it's a
Well, it's a
split sheet.
mansardy sort of thing, isn't it?
Sorry, it's a
Well, you're
mansard thing,
proposing
but there's a
cedar.
cedar roof up there presently. It's a
Yeah,
split.
we'll be doing
This is split and this is the same material. Got it. And the hardy plank is Arctic white on the horizontal?
Yeah.
And that's going down the driveway side and in the rear?
Yeah. And we're gonna have some
Okay.
horizontal
Are you
trim.
using the rear entrance or just that's parking?
It will be, we're using it, but it goes into the back of house, so it's
Got
only
it,
employees.
okay. Thank
There's
you.
lighting as well for safety.
Okay.
Okay. To present before the actual sign itself, the sign is just green and white. Logo would be a decal, which is inside of the window. It'll be both sides of
It will be
the.
hanging, but it will be non-illuminated.
It'll
Not
be
a
hanging.
decal, it will be a wood carved.
Okay.
Got
thing
it.
that hangs
Not
on the
illuminating
inside.
in any way. No light. Nothing reflecting from it or to it.
A good presentation. Nice.
Pretty straightforward.
Tasteful.
The fact that I have a weakness for you guys. Is there any public comment?
Somebody once said to me, I said, the Starbucks, when it was up on the highway, people
John, I
go to
gotta
a lot of
get going.
effort to, by Ham, people go to a lot of effort to get there, and they say.
I make a motion to
"Well,
approve the
clients are
application of Starbucks.
Board, any questions, comments, or concerns?
I think it's terrific.
That's it.
It's a wonderful improvement.
I just wanted to.
No public comment. Motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the application of Starbucks, both the sign, and make a motion to approve the alterations of the.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good luck.
Both the sign as well as the application. Next application,
The
please.
next application is 96 Leo LLC.
Is the applicant present?
I need to sign from it for, in there. Thank you, Ham. Ham, where are we in this file here? No, this is where we are? This part, this
No,
part?
you're actually down here. There's more back there.
Down there, you want to just bring them over here? Thank you. I appreciate it, Ham.
Just had a little bit of clear house cleaning, so
Housekeeping.
just give me a second. I don't see,
What do you need?
These guys. Okay, Mr. Chair.
Have a good evening, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, Ham.
Thank you.
You may proceed.
Good evening. My name is Douglas Vadgi, Douglas R. Vadgi Architect. I'm here representing the owner of 96 Leo's LLC. We're proposing a new one-family home on a lot approximately 34,500 square feet. It's a two-story house, just under 5,600 square feet, and it includes a detached structure of 780 square feet. The house is situated on a kind of an outside corner of Leo's Lane and Ann's Lane, and it sets away from the property, from the street. There's only about 66 feet of exposure along Leo's Lane. The rest of the property sets in. For exterior finishes, we're proposing natural cedar roof shingle, natural cedar siding, white trim boards, fascia board soffits, window trim, door trim. Windows are all double hung with a 6/1 grill pattern. We meet all the setback requirements for the zoning, and it tends to complement the neighborhood.
You say cedar roof or
Yeah, cedar natural.
cedar natural? You flip the page. That's it.
This is the side facing the back of the house toward the pool area. The area toward your right is the garage area. The garage includes a little changing room and bath for the pool.
Brian, comments?
No, I looked at it, Esther and I were in the building department, and I think because of the way it's sort of tucked around the corner there, it kind of makes sense when I was looking at the entrance with the tower and everything. I was just trying to figure out, you know, how did this fit in? But then I sort of got it when I looked at the plan and saw that's what you're going to see when you come in, and everything else sort of just wraps
Right,
around it.
branches it.
And I think the massing of 1-story and 2-story just keeps the mass of the whole house down.
Right.
So,
It's really not a tower, it's kind of a reverse hip coming off the second
right,
floor.
it's the stair tower, though,
Mhm.
basically.
Esther?
I'd like to hear public comment. I don't really have an issue with it.
Only concern I had was actually the second-story
The deck.
But I see the setbacks are so far that I don't think there'll be any impact to the neighbor or privacy. Is there any public comment on the application? Please step forward.
My name is Peter Pizarro. I live next door to that house, or proposed house. I was just wondering if it could be moved a little further to the south. I think it's like 35 feet from my, property line, and it showed like 85 feet, I think. I was just wondering if it could be moved a little bit over.
Unfortunately, this board's not a site, it's a aesthetic board.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay, it's all right. You could ask the applicant if he's be willing to do so, but I don't believe this board has the authority to enforce to enforce the applicant to recite his property, his project, unless there was some privacy issues, unless there was some other amending circumstances that would force.
They're currently building a house, just to the north of me, and they have an outdoor balcony looking down in my yard now. And I was
That was the question I had initially.
Right.
What's the second story?
No, I know your house isn't doing it, but I know what I'm dealing with, because that house right now is only like, the pool house is 15 feet from
Sure.
the fence. I mean, I don't know who sets where the house goes, but I was just asking if it could be shifted.
What I'm saying is that this second-story deck would have no impact to your property.
No, it wouldn't.
So I don't understand what the question,
I'm just asking about the 35. I didn't know who you approach about where it's located. That's all.
the 30.
You would just approach the owner.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah, because it's within the zoning, I mean.
Okay.
Yeah, we're over further than we pushed it over purposely more.
Okay.
Because that's really our yard, the back part, 'cause, this is
I
where-
understand the issue you may have with another home or another structure. I don't think that this would be invasive to your property. I don't think it would impede on any of your privacy. So this particular project, I don't think it's an issue. Even relocating or switching or changing or shifting it won't have any impact.
Okay.
That's just my own opinion.
All right.
Any other public comment? Please step forward.
Hello, my name's Alexandra Halsey
You
Storch.
may want to put that microphone down so they can hear you.
Alexandra Halsey Storch. I'm from Toomey Latham, representing a Mr. Nicolas Zola, who lives on 145 Ox Pasture Road. His property adjoins 96 Leo Lane to the south. He has no objection to the proposed design of the home. His only request was concern was privacy, and was wondering whether the applicant would be submitting landscaping plans.
Okay.
We do have landscaping.
Dean Gomolka, landscape architect. In particular, what is your concern?
Well, his property, he was just concerned, for privacy for himself as well as the new
This is the Palin
homeowners.
property here. So is this your property here that you're talking about? Ox pasture is this way.
Yeah, so that would be his.
And there's a structure here, a white structure that we've taken evergreen hedge and we've covered.
That's the back of his pool house, I think.
Okay. Well, if I would be able to get a copy of those for
Sure.
for the client, that would be great.
Well, any arrangement you make with the applicant or presentation, it's between the two of you. The file has this information in it, correct? Landscape plan?
We can
Has
give
it
you a
been
plan.
submitted?
We can give you a plan.
Can you please submit that? And they can be foiled in the building department.
Would you like to go through
Is
the
the
landscape
landscaping
plan?
plan submitted before this evening?
No.
All right.
There are a lot of existing trees. We have walnuts. This is the Palin property. There's a fence here, so we've kind of muted the fence a little bit with that privet hedge, cryptomerias, privet hedge, then green giant 14 to 16 foot evergreen hedge to hide their pool house here. Another existing walnut tree. There's a very large cedar on the property that we're bringing over, an evergreen tree to help mitigate this. There's like a 15-foot existing privet hedge on this other property here that we're just, we're not blocking. It's kind of aesthetic. There are existing oak trees, maple trees, and then on the street side on Leo's, the village has a drainage sump, if you will, a swale. We talked to Mr. Gillespie, and we're going to add green giant arborvitaes to help screen off there's a chain link fence that's rusted and falling over in that area. That's virtually it. Just very simple boxwood. Birch trees around the house. It's an elegant house. We're just keeping it very clean.
It's nice to have all those existing trees. Yeah.
How high is the privet?
Where? The new?
5
to 6.
5 to 6.
Right. There's a 6-foot fence right behind it, a dilapidated fence. And Palin has giant cryptomerias and lelands all along here.
But this is Mr. Zulas who's talking about the property, and he
So
is-
his pool house is right here, and we have 14 to 16 foot green giant.
He has trees there that are about 20 some odd, around 28 feet
Still your
tall.
responsibility to.
You don't even see it now.
I understand.
Well,
but
I
he
did
may
take
have.
a look at the property today, and there is some visibility.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot, but there
Right.
is some, so.
That's why
Is there
Had some
something that we can
concerns.
go out in the hall and we can talk to you about? If you want to add a couple more plans or
Well,
something?
my only concern is that this is the first time this plan has been delivered to this board.
Okay.
Not only the applicant, the neighbor who's making any comments, and most certainly mostly impacted, had the opportunity to review this, nor has the public. And since it has been questioned from another, at least a representative from the neighbor, I think it's only fair that you have the opportunity for that person to speak, to look over the file,
The
review
landscape
it.
plan was in there when they did go down there to see that. We took it
Landscape
out.
plan was where?
Have you seen the landscape?
No, we have not seen the landscape.
I just asked if the landscape plan was submitted for the
It
first
was,
time, and he
yes,
said
in the
this
beginning it
was.
was, and then we were gonna do a different landscape plan, and that's why when we took it out.
Well, this is the first time this plan has been submitted, correct?
Yes.
This year.
Brian
Wasn't
and I-
there on Friday.
We were in on Friday, it was not in the file. So my feeling would be to, it doesn't sound like we have an issue with the house, but I think the landscape plan, we'd
Yeah.
probably like to give Mr. Zulas an opportunity.
Or anyone else.
Anybody else,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
We submitted a booklet with pictures of the plants and existing conditions.
Sir, I would also take a look at the landscape plan as well to see how you're impacted by the distance shouldn't be an issue, but also any line of sight or visibility to your property as well. So the landscape plan will be in the building department. Any other public comment? Anything else from the board? All right, so we're gonna just give that a little bit of time for at least the public to see the additional information
Great.
you've given us.
Thank you for your time.
No problem. We'll request this board adjourn so that we can have that opportunity. Motion to approve the applicant's request to adjourn.
I make a motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn 96 Leo LLC.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next application, please. No, let them take some of this, please. Grab him. Excuse me, sir.
There are more.
Got lots of paper today.
Yeah.
That's why I'm keeping it back. Next application, please.
Next application is Sheehan and Salt House, 131 Post Lane for driveway gates. If I can find it, that would be very good.
I have different drawings that are in there. Reduced it.
You have any more?
Yep. I also have 2 letters of support from the neighbors. One is at 141 Post Lane, which would be the neighbor to the west, and the other one is at 29 Post Lane, a little further down.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this house is located on Post Lane, or West Post Lane, according to the survey. I was not involved in the original house, but the house is a somewhat modern house with
Traditional
concrete.
overtones.
Yes, concrete, stucco, and these cedar boards, horizontal cedar board siding. And so in that picture that I put up there, again, I was trying to give you somewhat of a visual as to what it would look like. Again, my colors on my computer are not perfect. But they originally were hoping to actually create
This is a new one.
create a
I know,
gate
I was gonna say this.
create a gate that actually looked like the wall of the house, which I
Right.
assume that you would not be fond of. So what we tried to do was kind of give that feeling on the posts of this same size board, which is a 12-inch board, and then create the horizontal openings. This is a 14-foot wide gate that will slide, so it's not actually a pair of gates. It will actually slide along the perimeter there. This property is down at the very, very end, down at the cul-de-sac. Again, the gate will be 18 feet off of the street, and
Spacing?
The spacing is 4 inches open to a 7.5-inch board.
Brian, comments?
I think it's a big improvement from what I saw in the building department on Friday. What about the light that you had? You had that one light.
Right, and
Is that still on this? It's not showing
Yes.
up on this rendering?
It's not on the rendering, it's still on the drawings. Did you see I passed up the light fixture that they were, it's what's on the house. I passed that up too.
And it's just one of them still, or are they on each post?
We could put one on each post if you thought that would make a difference. There was some concern as to
The
where the
sliding.
gate was sliding and how that would work. And
I think
whether that
one would
a
be more
problem.
appropriate.
Yeah, I like the one. I thought it kind of,
Yeah.
so.
I have no objection.
No.
Esther?
Will it weather gray, or?
It's going to weather gray, the same as that other one we were talking about. It'll go gray as the house goes.
I have no objection.
Better,
Public comment?
much better. Any public comment? Motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve the driveway gates for Shannon Salt House, 131 Post Lane.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Next application, please.
Next application is Darren Drake, 107 Pulaski Street.
Hi, I'm Seo Liu. I represent Darren Drake, 107 Pulaski Street. I'm the architect.
Do we have small sets?
Yes, I do. Oops. I ran out of paper, so it's not a lot of copy. Posting and mailing. No struggle. There are 2 sets of proposed and 2 sets of existing.
Check the survey on this one.
You gave me one, you gave me 2 already.
Okay.
And you want 2 or more? How many sets? Just
2.
2?
2.
Okay, so here you go.
She
Here's
usually
the
doesn't
affidavit of
provide
posting.
surveys. She usually does a site plan.
Good call there.
I just got the survey. He barely finished it today.
I'm sorry?
I said I just got the survey today. The
Oh,
surveyor
okay.
barely finished it today.
If you want to present your material, your style, your demonstration.
It's a typical Chinese house. We're gonna do cedar roof, cedar siding, everything is pretty much traditional. White railings, white trim.
Front porch accessible?
Yep.
Is that just decorative? Rear porch accessible?
Yes.
How big is this lot?
The big lot, it's like 25,000 square.
So it's about a half
Yeah,
acre.
thank you.
And the rear porch is only in the middle portion. If you look at the site plan, it's like a dotted line, only in the middle portion of it. And there are like 4 columns on it. On the site plan, you can see 4 columns. And the dotted line is where the porch is. The rest of them is deck.
Okay, you give me a survey of the existing home. You have a survey with the house?
It's here.
Okay.
Because like, the village always asks me for 2 sets of the existing, 2 sets of the proposed.
How many bedrooms are in the house?
There's 4 upstairs and 1 in the basement, and then there is 1 on the first floor. That's like an office, but I guess they can use it as a bedroom, but most likely they're not, so. The
Is
house-
that 6?
So it's like,
Yes, you need 5 parking
5,
spaces.
like 5.
And how big is the garage?
2-car garage.
And how many parking spaces?
I provided 5.
Extremely high.
So if it's in case it's a 6-bedroom, I still have enough.
So you have 5 parking spaces
Yes,
plus
on
2 in the garage.
Yes, it's on the site plan.
31? You're about 35?
Where are we on the height?
The height
31.
is 31 feet, 11 inches.
32, really.
All right. And that's sold on the second story deck.
It's very, it's only in the middle, and it's not that big, and he has a really big lot, and it's very far from the back.
It's a big lot in depth, not in width.
Yeah, it's very deep, and it's in the middle of the
So
house,
your neighbors to
only in the rear.
your neighbors to your, would be north and south, wouldn't it?
It should be, let me see.
West, east and west. You would be mostly impacted by the visual impact of the second story deck.
It's a big deck.
It's like a
It's a big prominent deck, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They are like about 65 feet away from the neighbor on the right. And then,
Do you have a landscape plan?
yes, the site plan has a landscape on it. The hedges all around the house, on the left hand and the right side. Both sides we have hedges.
There are 15 to 20-foot hedges around the entire
You,
property.
I'm sorry, but if you're going to be speaking, you have to step forward. It has to be on record.
So on the left hand side,
You're also, you're also presenting driveway gates?
yes. And it's on the site plan on the bottom.
Are there driveway gates on Pulaski Street?
No, not for this size.
Is there any public comment on this while we digest? Please step forward. Just give us a second while we're dissecting some of the, I mean, you have a lot going on in an area that really hasn't entertained such a grand driveway gates, second story decks up the rear. Just give us a second to really bring all of this in. Sir?
Jeff Steinhorst. I'm the broker for Mr. Drake on the property. The property, the deck on the second floor is quite a distance from both parties. We've gone and walked on properties and looked to see kind of where the sight lines would be. The hedges are 15 to 20 feet high, encircling the entire property except for the width of the driveway. They're all mature. And as far as the what was the other thing we were talking about? I lost my train of thought. The gates. There are driveway gates on other properties on Pulaski. 79 to be one example. It's just 4 doors down on the north side of the street as well. I was there tonight. I took pictures of it. I don't know.
You have pictures of it?
On my phone. I don't have them with me, but they're white lattice gates that close, and they had them open this evening, but they close off the entire driveway. That's all. 79 Pulaski is the other.
Thank you. Brian, any comments? Any more public comment?
Yes.
Step forward.
Good evening, my name is Ray Sizik. I reside, excuse me, at 105 Pulaski Street, which is right next door west of the proposed site. The only way I found out about this evening was when I came by the house last week. I saw a poster. I never received any kind of certified mail, nor did 2 of my other neighbors who were surprised by this. Unfortunately, couldn't be here because it's Monday evening. They're back in the city. I went to the building department, and they showed me plans, and they're just...
I'm sorry, your name, sir? Your last name?
Ray Sizik, 105 Pulaski Street. Been there since 1961. I took the property over in 1987. I've been upgrading the property ever since.
Is it on the list?
No.
What's the name of one of your other neighbors?
I'm there. This used to be the Lucas house.
What's the name of the other neighbors that were not, you say there were other neighbors did not get any,
I don't know her name. She's next door. She lives in Connecticut.
you know, the address of the property?
I think she's 79.
How close is your homes to this property? You say you're just adjacent to it?
I'm right next door.
We have a mailing issue. Okay.
Yes, definitely.
There's a question about mailing, and that also questions our authority to view the application.
So,
Excuse me, what is the number of your house on Pulaski?
105.
You see that, Curtis? Do you receive all your mail there?
No, I receive it at my other place, which is in New Hyde Park.
29 Evergreen Avenue,
Yes.
New Hyde Park. You're on the list.
I know, I never received anything though.
Helen and Raymond.
How long ago?
Yes.
Any other? All right. Well, you're here.
Return receipts in the file?
There are no return receipts.
Just an affidavit?
Just the affidavit. And a list of mail.
So briefly, what I saw at the building department, I mean, this house just looks too large. I know the previous owners had a house plans for a house at a smaller scale that was turned down. This is, how many square feet is this building?
Why do you
It's
say
being,
that?
it's being proposed at 45.
1,592.
I mean, there is a house, number 79 on Pulaski Street, that's 3,000, which is a huge place.
Why do you say the other house was denied or turned down?
That's what the residents told me, the previous ones that sold the place. You know, I'm just concerned about this huge deck that's gonna be, I'm gonna be staring right at it. It's just, I don't mind the renovation, it's just too big for the neighborhood. To the right of, down the block is all ranch homes. I have a small A-frame house, and then you got this behemoth now stuck in the middle.
All right, we're going to have to go do a site visit anyway. It's a lot going on. There were some questions about the driveway gates down Pulaski Street.
There are two there, the eyesores. How they got passed, I don't know, but,
Doesn't necessarily mean they came before this board.
yeah.
This, unfortunately, people put up driveway gates and don't necessarily have to go through the proper process to do so. However, if they do exist, then they do add, depending on the design, they do add to a precedent that's already been set that they exist in the community. It would be this board's discretion to go through and look at it and see what's currently there and look at the design of the proposed.
Fair enough.
Okay?
There we go.
I don't think at this evening anyone's going to be making any decisions. It's a lot of questions that we have. I think we all need to have a site visit and review and see what the community looks like. We also ask the applicant to please do a streetscape and various homes.
We do have that.
I have photos in there.
We do have.
And I did take pictures of the larger houses on the street, which is not directly next to this property, but here it is.
Thank you.
That was all in the file.
I'd also like to add, there is a elm tree that's probably about 150 years old that I'm concerned will be taken down because of this renovation being done, which that gives me a lot of privacy, at least, during the summer.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Any other public comment?
There definitely is a precedent as far as gates go, the number 79, and they're very beautiful gates. They're not ratty or not well kept or anything. The other thing is, there are many homes on Pulaski Street that are maybe not quite as big as this house, but certainly in the same realm as this house. There are two new constructions closer to the, I don't know if it's called the Polish Hall or whatever it's called down at the end of Elm Street, that are new and large. There are 2 or 3 homes just a little bit kitty corner to the southwest across the street that are larger, newer construction within the last 6 or 7 years. This is a gentrifying street where people are coming in, buying distressed looking properties, and they're regentrifying it and trying to make it newer. And
What's bad word? But we had the builder right back there.
Okay. Sorry? Bad word? Okay. Anyways, it's a nice street. There are new homes there. There are large homes there. This is not out of the ordinary. I'm a real estate broker for 15 years here, and it's definitely going to be an addition and a plus to this neighborhood, not a detriment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? All right, this board just needs time. We need to go back and do a little site visit. A couple of things under the questions before this board that we want to clarify, and then we'll come back at our next meeting with discussion.
Okay.
Anything further?
I just want to emphasize about the roof deck in the back. It's really quite far from the side yard. This side is at least 40 feet. The other side, from the edge of the roof to the property line, this side is about 40 feet. The other side is at least 60 feet. So, it's not like really
We'll take a look
looking
at it.
into the neighbor's yard.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry if I didn't see the gate. I drove by, I didn't see the gate.
Yeah, it's
I'm
okay.
sorry I made a wrong presentation.
All right, so we're going to do a site visit. I'm
Do
sorry.
we have a gate plan in there?
Yes.
We do, okay.
It's on the main plan.
Okay.
All right. Anything further from the public? Anything further from the board?
No.
Just going to ask the board to adjourn so that we can take a site visit.
So you're just doing site visit, you're not suggesting me to do anything at the moment?
At this time, we don't have any suggestions. We need to go to do an additional site visit with certain things that have been presented for this evening.
Okay.
Motion to, I'm sorry, you're asking this board to adjourn, correct? So that we can finish? Absolutely. Motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn.
I make a motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn 107 Pulaski Street.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next application, please.
Next application is 59 First Neck Lane LLC.
Oh,
Will Schultz, architect, representing 59 First Neck Lane LLC this evening. I have some mini sets.
This goes back in the folder. Back in-
You took it.
Yes, I did.
I just want to, they were saying. Right, just two.
Thanks.
The site's on a private road off of First Neck Lane. It's, the first two photographs show the view of the house from the private road. The second one is looking into the property from the entrance to the property. You can see there's an existing two-car garage on the right side and the house is on the left side. The third page is just the Earth Google showing the private road coming off First Neck Lane. So it's really the last house on the private road. And then there's gates to actually it's next to the last. The next sheet is the survey showing where the existing garage is and what we're adding. What we're doing is we're adding a second-story bedroom to connect the garage to the house, and the first floor is a drive-through porte cochere. And then we're adding onto the front of the garage for another bedroom. The next sheet is the elevation showing the addition with respect to the rest of the house on the east side. And then there are three 3Ds showing the relationship between the existing and the new. And then the last two are the site plans. And the last thing I forgot to point out on the Earth Google map is across the private road is the golf course, the 9-hole golf course. So there are no houses across. And the property is heavily landscaped on all three sides. It's 2 acres. Where the house is 6 bedrooms now. It'll be 7 bedrooms when we're finished. We're taking out 2 and
It's
adding
a
3.
seamless addition. It's really wonderful.
Yeah, it's a brilliant solution.
Yeah. And
Looks
a-
like it belongs.
And a very nice presentation.
Any
there
public
any-
comments on the application? Zach, any comments? No, it's not in Historic District, however. It's sensitive.
Oh, it's on First Neck Lane.
All
It's
the
on
way
a
down.
private road.
That's why I said it's.
Down off First Neck Lane.
Oh, I think it's architecturally very appropriate.
Exactly. Motion to approve. Yeah, it's not in Historic District. Motion to approve. Which, I don't understand that.
I don't either.
Yeah, it's where they.
It's not in the Historic
Right
District.
up.
Probably too far, one property
West.
back
Wow.
It's all the way down.
to the west.
The property on First Neck Lane is historic, and then.
But this is to the west, so this sets back.
Yes.
Got it.
Motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve applicant's request for 59 First Neck Lane.
No,
LLC.
we've approved the application.
Sorry.
That's okay.
It's late.
Second.
It's okay.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Final application for this evening.
136 Bishop's Lane.
I'm CEO Liu, I'm the architect for Bishop Lane.
Just 2, please.
Okay. Colorful one, because I ran out of paper. Looks like a PTA's flyer. And the survey.
She's giving you the survey now.
And what about the affidavits?
I'm sure she's got those too.
I have only one copy of the existing. The surveyor made a mistake. He sent me too many of the proposed.
Told you she had them.
And posted.
Have you seen this?
Big site.
Sorry?
Big lot.
I just was really ashamed. Stamping everything.
Yeah, but
Another big
You're
one.
welcome. Hold on, there's one more thing. Here's the affidavits.
it's 3 stories. What's the height?
Code here.
Just about there.
Here are the affidavits.
33 and a half. The height 33 and a half.
Yes, that's all.
All right. Brian, comments?
No, I didn't have any issues with it. It's a large site, and there are it's a changing street. There's a lot of big houses going up, and I thought the architecture was fine.
I don't know, I'm just perplexed over the perception of a third story.
But there's no third story.
I said the perception of a third
Oh,
story.
it's a attic space. Just looks pretty because, you know, in the past, you know, people built houses with this kind of look, and that's what we're trying to emulate. I have the 3D if you want to see it.
Yes, please.
It took a long time to do it, so it's not like 100% perfect. I like it perfect. It's good enough to show, I think. The attic in the middle over the master bedroom under the ridge is 10 feet, and it's going down really quickly because it's a 10 pitch. So every foot you come down 10 inches. So it's not really a third story. There's no way you can really use it. Yeah, I'm measuring it right now.
I guess you didn't understand what I meant by that. I'm not saying that it is, and I'm not representing that it is.
Yeah,
I'm
it
saying that the
appears
perception.
to be, yes. But I think this is what is the beauty of this kind of house, because it's regal, it's like tall.
You said the beauty of this house is tall?
You know,
regal.
this style of house is regal. It's like in the middle, it's like tall, but it's not like everywhere. It's just that peak. It's like, you know, the old houses, you know, that's what it looks like.
And that second story deck, your side yards are even smaller on this
This
application.
one is very small. This one is not a big second story deck at all. It's like a 5 foot by 14 feet and 7 inches. 5'1" by 14 feet, 7 inches. And this is like over an acre lot. And it's really right in the middle, and it's like buried by the porch roof. Only a little bit is showing. If you can look at the rear elevation, you can see it.
Esther's comments?
I have a question. The tennis court remains, and you're sinking the tennis court?
Yes.
And the pool is 20 by 40?
Yes, I believe so.
And landscape plan?
It's on the site plan. We're gonna hedge all around it, and we're gonna hedge all around the tennis court, and put hedges around the driveway. Not like in the front, but like starting from the back, I guess.
I'd like to see a landscape plan. How big are the hedges?
We're gonna put leland, probably leland, what do you call it, the leland cypress?
Well,
That's like a 15 feet tall, right?
Just your name for the record.
Michael White. Well, I was just going to keep the hedges as the landscaping because they're about 12, 14 feet high.
Do they go completely around the property?
Yeah, yes, they do. And as far as the tennis court, I'd like to sink it.
Not within this purview of this
okay.
board.
Okay. And if there's any filling in of hedges, like spots and stuff, because the property's like overgrown, I'll replace to make a continuous hedge.
Of like kind?
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. And I probably would put, you know, I mean, I want the privacy as much as the next person, so probably on the right side, the south side, it probably would put some lelands across there if there was a problem, but I believe this is a flag lot next to us.
I have the satellite view.
That would be helpful, thank you. Thank you.
I overlapped the my SketchUp on the Google Earth. It's fairly accurate.
Anything further, Esther?
Brian?
No, I've done some houses on the street. I know the neighborhood.
All right. Any public comment? Motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve the application for 136 Bishop's Lane.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next application, could you guys do us a favor, the architect? Could you have the posting and mailing in file prior to the meeting? Yeah, it just makes life easier, because we review the files, and then we look through to see what's in there and what's not. So we come here with the impression you don't have a full application. It just makes it easier for us to.
No problem.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Now I just curious about that. Man said he didn't receive his mail. I don't think we are required to do certified mail.
You're not, because it's not in the historic district.
And I handed over myself. I dropped all the mails.
Okay.
So just want to be sure that I really did.
Thank you.
It's on the video.
What's left on our agenda are the minutes. On the August 11th?
The 11th minutes because they're done. The 8th, there's not a quorum, so we can't.
Motion to close this evening's meeting.
Hold on, I'm trying to figure out, I was here at the last meeting, I was 140 Meeting House Lane. I have no idea why I'm not on the agenda. I assumed it was going to be a site visit, and they asked for some small comments. So I have them, came tonight, and I just realized I'm not even on the agenda until about 10 minutes ago, but.
I'm sorry, were you present at the last meeting?
Yes.
And you were told to,
Well, there was going to be a site visit, someone on the board said they were going to do a site visit, so I came back tonight for comments, and it's not on the agenda.
Oh, is it Evan and Julia?
Shearer, yes.
It was it was an adjourned. It was adjourned. It says new plans for site changes were submitted. This is at the last meeting. Survey. The board also asked for more detail and for the full-size set and the mini sets to line up. And it was adjourned. I don't know. It was before it listed.
I have a
before.
notation about affidavits.
I don't have a notation about that.
So the file
you
is
have the
not
file?
here.
Is the file in here?
No, this is not it. I'm just looking at not this one.
So, what was the address, sir?
140 Meeting House Lane.
The board would like to make a site visit.
We don't have.
So we will accept whatever information you have and put it and submit it into your file. The issue is we don't have the actual file itself. So the information you give us, we'll review it, and at our next meeting, we'll be prepared. We unfortunately do not have your file.
Okay, yeah, I was asked just to get a survey updated to match my site plan, which I had done.
You have two sets of everything?
Yeah. I guess use one, too.
Yes.
Two of that.
The record indicates that we were adjourned for the last meeting, correct?
Adjourned.
Okay.
What do you mean?
So what we can do is just take in any information you have, and
These are the quarter-inch scale and then the deuce plans that match. I'm not really sure what the mix-up was. You said it was in German, but I don't understand the problem.
I just had a notation about affidavits. I don't know what the reference was. I presume you submitted the affidavit of
Oh,
posting.
yeah,
and
yeah,
mailing.
I have all that. I have all, in fact, you said something about receipt. I have all those crazy receipts. I got everything here. I don't know. So I'm losing 2 weeks because of, I don't understand why.
I don't either, sir. I'm sorry, I wasn't here the last meeting, but I do know that I don't have your file. And
How about the site visit? Any comment? You're not allowed to comment or no one? Or?
if you want to hear comment,
I'd love to hear. I know it saved me 2 weeks if I, can respond to something.
It was Ham.
Ham wanted.
Yeah,
Ham's not here.
Ham's not here.
Oh,
I'm so sorry.
Oh.
We will accept this in file and add it to your application. I'm sorry, add it to your file. And unfortunately, Ham's not here, and I don't have your file to review as a whole, so there's no way really I could, no way for me to hear the
Right.
application this
I
evening.
understand, okay. Yeah, it was just a few minor comments when I could tell. I mean, it's just a site visit, oh, so I have a color sample for the windows in a trim. Is that, should I submit that or?
Retain that.
You can
For the next time?
Bring it next
Mhm.
time.
next time.
All right.
Okay, sir? Sorry for the confusion.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Good night.
Motion to close this evening's meeting.
I make a motion to close the Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation for September 22, 2014.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good night.